Chapter 2675. But that's it. In the void, two figures flew past one after the other, like thunder. Yang Kai was leading the way. The wounds on his fists had gradually healed under his strong recovery ability. He was secretly shocked by the girl's brute force. He didn't know where this girl came from. She was so divine. Scanning over, I saw that she had her hands behind her back, and the old god was following behind her like a shadow, never leaving her, with a calm expression on her face. That expression seemed to be running out to play, rather than fighting with himself. Yang Kai was immediately overjoyed, took a light breath, and the irritability and anger in his heart gradually calmed down. His expression calmed down. Although the other party looked young and unreasonable, it was indeed enough. Although there is no injustice or enmity, it can even be said that they met for the first time, but since the other party has murderous intentions, Yang Kai will not be timid. If you want to kill me, then I will kill you and see who dies first. Leaping tens of thousands of miles away from Liang City, he rushed into a stretch of mountains. Yang Kai suddenly stopped and turned around. The girl's figure was also fixed 30 feet in front of him. She looked left and right, her pink lips parted, and she said, "This is the burial place you chose for yourself. You don't have a good eye." Ha! Yang Kai laughed loudly. "Little yellow-haired girl, with a little brute force, I really think it's amazing. I really don't know how high the sky is and how thick the ground is. It's always been other people talking to him like this. This is the first time to ridicule others like this. Yang Kaiping has a feeling of being a villain, don't mention it in his heart. And generally speaking, those who dared to talk to him like this would end badly." The girl said, "It doesn't matter, you don't need it anyway. If you dare to refine those things, I will tear your bones apart later, leaving you without a place to bury you." While speaking, she stretched out her scarlet tongue and licked her red lips. She looked like she saw the delicious food and moved her index finger. The pure appearance suddenly added a coquettish charm, which made Yang Kai stunned. After a while, I couldn't help imagining what it would be like if the little tongue licked my body, and my mind was swaying. Damn it, the enemy is in front of him. How can he be confused by beauty? Is it because he has been in the star realm for so many years and can't get vent? Yang Kai's profound art reminds him, and his mind is instantly clear. "Are you ready?" The girl raised her eyes and asked with a smile. "Humans and animals are harmless." Yang Kai laughed, hooked his hands and said, "Come here. This young master will take care of your parents today." Puff. Before he finished speaking, Yang Kai felt his abdomen was hit by a huge force. There was no trace of the girl 30 feet away, only a faint afterimage was left on the spot, and the distance itself had already been shortened in an instant. His small body sank slightly, and he punched forward. As if an Emperor Senior stage exploded in front of him, Yang Kai felt a spasm in his stomach, and when he opened his mouth, a pool of blood spurted out, splashing the girl's head and face, and his whole body flew towards the rear like a cannonball, directly killing. The mountain collapsed. Rumbling, the rocks rolled, and the 100-foot-high peak poured down slowly. Only a huge hole appeared on the mountainside, but Yang Kai disappeared. The girl stood up with her fists closed, staring at the hole and sneered, "You can't control yourself." With her strength, even the third-level Emperor Senior would not be able to bear it for a while. A mere first-level Emperor Senior dared to act presumptuously in front of her. I really don't know how to write the word dead. This time, she was ordered by the elders of the clan to come to this southern region to investigate the whereabouts of a treasure in the clan. She traveled many places without any clues. When passing through Liang City, she suddenly found something strange about Yang Kai. It's fine if it's a General Emperor Senior stage, but the key is that Yang Kai actually refined some taboo things. As a disciple in the clan, she naturally has the responsibility and the obligation to erase them. It's ridiculous that this human being seems to be used to arrogance, and dare to fight her alone without knowing her true identity, which is considered courageous, but the IQ is limited. Stretching out that tender little hand, wiped it on her face, stained with a trace of blood. Looking down, the girl frowned. Golden. It was the first time for her to meet a human with golden blood, and the power of chi and blood contained in this blood even moved her. Stretching out the tip of her tongue to lick the golden blood, the girl's face changed slightly. It's strange, and spirituality. From this blood, she tasted an aura that she hated deeply, but felt very close to. Yang Kai's golden blood, the source of which benefited from the magic mystery tome that he obtained back then, used magic to refine his blood and turned it into pure golden blood, which naturally has a strong magical nature, but he also refined the original power of the golden holy dragon. The blood there is a strong recovery ability in it, and it has a pure spirituality. The two are perfectly combined and blend with each other. Logically speaking, the demon nature refined from the demon mystery code cannot resist the original spirituality of the Golden Saint Dragon, but now Yongkai has sealed the pure ancient magic energy in his body, although the seal has been unsealed several times. Affecting his physique, this can achieve a balance with the origin of Jin Shenglong. Just as the girl was suspicious, there was a thunderous explosion from the cave in the mountainside, and then, a stream of light shot out from it, turning into Yongkai's figure and standing still in front of the girl again. You. The girl was startled, and looked forward in amazement. She thought that Yongkai would be seriously injured even if he survived the punch of her own. How did she know that the other party still had the ability to move? It's like something exciting. Fighting spirit is high, the whole body is whistling, and those eyes are shining with a terrifying light. It hurts. Yongkai said so, but there was no sign of pain on his face. Instead he had a proud face, gritted his teeth and said, "Little girl, I underestimated you, come and go without being rude, also take a punch from this old man." While speaking, his breath sank, his whole body was like a volcano about to erupt, all his strength gathered on his fist, and under the ups and downs of the law of space, he dodged in front of the girl and punched her chest fiercely. If this punch is real, the plump breasts will burst in an instant. It's not that Yongkai wants to take advantage of her, it's just that the girl is petite, and Yongkai's punch can only reach her chest. Just like she chose Yongkai's abdomen as the attack target just now, it was not deliberate but let nature take its course. The enemy is in front of him, he doesn't care about the pink skin, even if a stunning beauty strips off her clothes and dances in front of her, Yongkai's punch is still right. The colorful rays of light bloomed, and the immortal sword energy of the 5 elements lingered on the fist, adding to the power of this blow. Inexplicably, Yongkai only felt carefree and dripping, an indescribable joy in his heart. It seems that this kind of simple and rough battle is the most suitable for a man's ferocious instinct. What kind of secret art and secret treasure is simply weak? The vortex of power suddenly appeared, and the void was wiped out. It was no longer a fist that blasted out, but a lifetime of understanding of martial arts, and the condensation of energy and spirit. The girl's eyes shrank slightly, and she was obviously a little surprised. She didn't expect Yongkai, a human being at the Emperor Senior level, to have such violent power. Combined with the golden blood with strong blood, the girl secretly thought that Yongkai should have cultivated something. The art of body refining, otherwise how could it be possible to achieve this level? He sneered secretly in his heart. He dared to call himself an old man at such a young age. Despite his small appearance, it was just that the cycle of growth was too long, and he had actually lived for hundreds of years. You will regret why you didn't die so easily just now. The girl's vermilion lips parted slightly. She stood still where she was. She just raised her hand slightly, her small palm blocked the front, and punched Yongkai with all her strength. This pink and jade-carved little hand is like an exquisite work of art blocked in front of the violent wind and waves, and it will be torn to pieces in the next moment. Snappy to A. The fists and palms intersected. The girl didn't move at all, but her clothes were rattling, and Yongkai's confident blow was blocked in such an unbelievable manner. It seemed that what was blocked was not a violent blow, but a headless blow. Brain flies over the chalk fly. When the wind blew up, the girl's black hair was flying, and her beautiful eyes were mocking. Grass. Yongkai was used to seeing strong winds and waves, so he couldn't help but stare at this moment. The conflict between ideals and reality at critical moments was too abrupt, which made him a little unacceptable. Even though he knew that the young girl's strength was enormous, Yongkai never thought that her strength was so great that it was a height that was hard for him to reach. It's up to me. The girl pursed her lips and smiled. Her silver bell-like laughter fell all over the floor, but Yongkai's ears felt creepy, and the palm that was spread out to block Yongkai's fist snapped, and the tentacles were as soft as you. Yongkai instantly felt that his fist was firmly locked, and he couldn't break free. Immediately afterwards, the girl's other arm was bent back, like a strong bow drawing the bowstring. Her figure leaned back slightly, her plump chest became more and more towering, and the long light blue dress was almost unable to support it. Booma A. The bowstring is full, the arrows fly in shock, and the powder fist strikes, but it is wrapped in an aura of destroying everything. Yongkai's eyes were bigger than a cow's, and the other fist that was free was also punched like a dragon, turning into a fist shadow all over the sky. Exploding sounds came out one after another, accompanied by Yongkai's muffled groan. La A. Yongkai stepped on his feet, pulled back, and the immortal 5 elements sword chi collapsed. The fist facing the enemy was completely twisted, the fist was bloody, and the other fist had deep 5-finger marks, and the flesh and blood were also scraped up, exposing Bai Sensen's bones. The blood on the chest was rolling, Yang Kai couldn't hold it back, and another cloud of blood sprayed out, but he wanted to save face, and squinted, but that's it. Really? There was a sneer on the corner of the girl's mouth. Human beings are really sad. They still don't know how to repent when they are about to die. They don't agree with each other. I'm afraid he will die regretting it now, or dying of fear. I don't know if I will kneel down and beg for mercy later. Maybe he was about to turn around and run away. After all, knowing that he was invincible but still stubbornly resisting, no one would be so stupid as this. Come again, Yang Kai roared, gathering his strength again. Before waiting for the girl to answer, he jumped towards her in a flash. Surprisingly, rushed over. The girl's heart skipped a beat. She felt that the progress of the matter was a bit different from what she had imagined. This person must not be fooled, right? To be continued. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 2676 Caught You. Yang Kai was holding back a surge of anger. The battle with the girl reminded him of his powerlessness against the stone fire in the ancient land more than a year ago. If you can't kill Shuo, you still can't kill you, a yellow-haired girl. This anger spewed out of Yang Kai's mouth like magma, making his blood boil. Although it was still not as good as the girl's terrifying brute force, with more defense and less attack, the more ferocious the yuewen, the more aggressive the yuewen, and the more he used his power. Sway freely. Boom boom boom. The two figures intertwined and entangled, constantly flying up and down among the mountains. Countless mountains collapsed, birds and beasts flew on the ground, and from time to time, Yang Kai was blasted out, bleeding countless in the air, but every time he stubbornly and resolutely reborn. Pounce back. A whole body of clothes is almost torn, with strands and strands, dilapidated, the upper body is bare, and there are only a few pieces of cloth left to block the vital parts of the lower body. He has never had a defensive secret treasure such as treasure armor. It is not because he has not obtained it. He has killed many strong men these years, and there are always some treasure armor-like things in the rings of those strong men, but Yang Kai did not refine them because he felt that he didn't need it. Although the treasure armor can provide a layer of protection, it also cuts off the perception of danger. It is not a good thing to rely too much on external forces. How can ordinary clothes withstand such a violent battle? I am afraid that Yang Kai will be naked soon after the battle. The girl acted as if she hadn't seen it, and she wasn't shy. She had never eaten pork, and she hadn't seen a pig run away. Anyway, it was just like that, and she didn't think it mattered to look at the dying person. Compared to Yang Kai's embarrassment, the young girl can almost be said to be walking in the garden. No matter how fierce Yang Kai's attack is, she can defuse it easily. That terrifying brute force is simply not something a human can possess. It is the strongest monster, family, and may not be able to wrestle with her. PFF'd. Yang Kai spat out another mouthful of blood, and he flew upside down, plowing the ground into a deep ravine, and the cloth under his crotch was completely dead. The girl frowned slightly, feeling that this man was simply outrageously stubborn. If it were an ordinary Emperor Senior realm, she would have been patted into flesh by her long ago, but this guy is still alive and kicking. Although he looks extremely embarrassed, his fighting spirit is rising steadily, thanks to the strange golden blood. If it weren't for the surging vitality contained in it, this person would have died long ago. The golden blood all over her body is indeed a bit weird. Yang Kai climbed up tremblingly, spit out a mouthful of blood, and looked at the young girl with a terrifying look in his eyes. Unyielding in the face of adversity and fighting in a desperate situation made him seem to return to the moment when he obtained the mystical tome many years ago. The road to martial arts. Today at this time, how similar to then. It's just the vicissitudes of life, he almost forgot that feeling. But after this hard work, he finally regained the discarded capital. Being proud and unyielding, who can do anything to me? The mind moved slightly, and there was a vague realization. The blood all over the body rushed faster and faster, the blood on the wounded body quickly condensed, and the powerful recovery began to appear, almost only in the blink of an eye. All the injuries were eliminated. Yang Kai stretching out a hand, the blood coffee fell off, revealing a newborn skin. So it is. Yang Kai's eyes flickered. Years of fighting relying on secret techniques and treasures made him almost forget the indomitable spirit in his bones. Today, when he suddenly realized it, he gained a lot. The young girl frowned slightly, instinctively feeling that Yang Kai had changed a bit, but she couldn't tell what the change was. Yang Kai took out a set of clothes from his space ring, put them on again, his eyelids opened and closed, and the light bloomed like a substance. Hook handed at the girl and said, "Come again." The girl was angry, and gritted her teeth. Since you are so anxious to die, then I will grant you. She didn't see any movement, and suddenly rushed in front of Yang Kai, punching him with a simple and unpretentious punch. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to block it, and the moment he touched it, Yang Kai's eyes lit up, and all his strength burst out. Boom-a-a! Yang Kai flew upside down again, but the girl also involuntarily took a step back. What's going on? The girl was terrified. No matter how hard Yang Kai tried before, she couldn't shake her at all, but after this blow, she was forced to take a step back. The force of that punch was greater than before, I don't know how much. In such a short period of time, what kind of changes have taken place in him, and why can he grow like this? Ha ha ha! There was a loud laugh, but Yang Kai flew back again, and when the air raid came like a tiger descending from the mountain, he said, I will open a dyeing workshop if you give you 3 points of color. The soft one is really a girl. The girl was angry. She punched like the wind, and threw her fist at Yang Kai. In an instant, the sky was filled with shadows of fists. After a while, the figures parted, the ground under the girl's feet was cracked, and Yang Kai's brand new clothes were broken again, his skin was cracked, and the golden blood flowed all over his body like a stream. He looked embarrassed, but he didn't care. On the contrary, the more he fought, the braver he became. The girl finally turned serious, looked Yang Kai up and down, and said, What's your name? She also asked this question in front of the city lord's mansion before, but at that time she just asked casually, and then dismissed the answer because she didn't pay attention to Yang Kai, because she felt that Yang Kai would definitely die. Dead man, why should he know his name? But now, she asked the same question again. This human being, who is not in her eyes, is already qualified to let her know his name. The strong have always commanded respect. Yang Kai. The girl's red lips twitched, and she murmured, Zhu Qing. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, then realized that this was her name, nodded and said, I remember. Zhu Qing looked at him in surprise, and said, You don't feel anything when you hear this girl's name. Yang Kai thought about it seriously, and said, This name is very good, simple and simple, catchy, not bad. Zhu Qing couldn't help rolling her eyes, thinking that this guy really didn't think of anything. It's really meaningless for an ignorant person, and she doesn't know how she cultivated to the first level of Emperor Senior. Although I think this guy is a promising talent, but since he violated the taboo, there is no place for him in this world, and he will definitely die. That's all. Zhu Qing waved her hand with some disinterest, and said, I'm going to get serious. HMPH, I didn't try my best, I just saw you as a woman and gave you 3 points. What does this yellow-haired girl mean? Is she trying to say that it was just a joke? It's really louder than the sky, but this momentum cannot be weak. I know. Zhu Qing smiled slightly, but seemed harmless to humans and animals. Yang Kai thought that she would fight against him, and he had a venomous tongue, but he didn't know that it was such an answer. What do you know? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Zhu Qing stroked the black hair next to her ears, and said slowly, You refine those things, but you don't see them using them, so naturally you didn't use all your strength. Yang Kai frowned. You keep talking about those things, what exactly are they? Zhu Qing also said earlier that he refined things that shouldn't be refined, and this battle also happened because of this, but he hated people playing charades with him the most. The big slap passed. Zhu Qing's expression turned cold, and she said in a deep voice, You don't even remember what you refined. The breath changed dramatically in an instant. If she was a harmless little girl next door before, she is now a Jiaolong who goes out to sea to commit murder. Yang Kai snorted and said, I have a lot of refined things, how would I know if you don't tell me? That's it. Zhu Qingsu pointed at her red lips, and said with a sweet smile, Then let this girl help you remember. When the words fell, he suddenly approached Yang Kai, slammed his hands into claws, and slammed towards his chest. The speed was so fast that people couldn't react. I don't know if it's an illusion, Yang Kai seemed to hear a dragon chant vaguely, and Zhu Qing's little hand seemed to have turned into a dragon claw in an instant, trying to tear apart all defenses, grab Yang Kai's heart. This girl really didn't use her full strength before. Yang Kai hurriedly retreated in shock. But Zhu Qing actually followed her like a shadow, unable to get rid of like a maggot on a tarsal bone, close at hand, exhaling like blue. If you don't use it again, you won't have a chance to use it. At the critical moment of life and death, Yang Kai's mind was full of blessings, and he shouted loudly, Dragon transformation. The already powerful aura suddenly climbed to a new height, and its power was as powerful as that of Emperor Senior's third layer realm. Suddenly, pieces of scales emerged from Yang Kai's exposed skin, and at the same time, Yang Kai's two hands suddenly melted. As the dragon's claw, a golden light flashed behind him, and the phantom of the golden holy dragon disappeared in a flash. Zhu Qing felt heart palpitations for no reason, raised her head and looked behind Yang Kai, but she didn't see anything. Her eyes widened, as if she was dumbfounded. But such a momentary delay caused her momentum to drop sharply. Yang Kai grabbed her hand. Not good. Zhu Qing's pretty face changed color, and she hurriedly pulled away, but the distance was so close, how could she retreat back? Her hand tightened, and she was caught by Yang Kai. Yu's strength made Zhu Qing feel the pain. I've caught you. On Yang Kai's face, a dragon scale appeared hiddenly, and his temperament also changed greatly, becoming extremely strange and evil. Let go. Zhu Qing yelled, the other hand clenched her fist and punched Yang Kai's chest. Yang Kai didn't move. He let the fist hit his chest, the sound of gold and iron intersecting, sparks splashed, his chest was dented an inch, his figure staggered a bit, but he still held onto Zhu Qing's hand tightly. Zhu Qing was stunned, she didn't expect her blow to be so weak. No, it's not powerlessness, but the opponent has become stronger. When he wanted to punch again, Yang Kai had already held her arms, and both arms were restrained for a moment, and he couldn't move. The distance between the two was extremely close, only 3 inches apart. Chapter 2677 Dragon Nature. The scorching breath rushed towards her face, making Zhu Qing's whole body feel like thorns, and she was extremely uncomfortable. When she looked up, Yang Kai's eyes were shining with obscene light, and she was looking at her with great interest. Novel Network WWI. Zhu Qing's face paled in an instant, and she didn't know that Yang Kai was affected by the dragon transformation secret technique. If ordinary people were so close to him at this moment, he might not have much reaction, but he was different. His existence would definitely allow him to dig out the most primitive desire hidden in his heart. Dragon nature is obscene. Maybe he didn't realize it himself, but it was an instinct, and it couldn't be erased no matter what. Yang Kai also felt so strange. He was determined to teach Zhu Qing a lesson, but when he grabbed her like this and smelled the body fragrance from her delicate body, the hostility in his heart dissipated a lot inexplicably. On the contrary, another feeling is boiling like boiling water. It was a feeling that he had suppressed for many years and never released, a man's instinct. Looking at Zhu Qing up and down with a picky gaze, Yang Kai secretly praised this girl as expected. Her breasts are full and round, undulating like a mountain, and there is a touch of snow white under the skirt that makes people dizzy. That deep and white desire the ravine is even more exciting, attracting people's attention like a whirlpool, making people unable to extricate themselves. The scent lingering at the tip of his nose made Yang feel so happy that his blood surged all over his body. He took a deep breath, showing an extremely intoxicated expression, lowered his head slightly, and stared at the destructive Snow White presumptuously and boldly with his scorching eyes, which seemed to be able to incinerate everything in the world. The hands that grabbed Zhu Qing's fists and arms were no longer satisfied with restraint, and even started to rub lightly. The hands were as soft as jade and felt wonderful. 2 clearly identifiable hot streams spewed out from the nostrils, rushing towards Zhu Qing's neck, making her whole body numb. Presumptuous. Zhu Qing's face turned pale, and she began to drink coquettishly. How dare a mere human being look at herself with such presumptuous eyes? Novel net, it's an unforgivable crime, deserves to be cut to death, and what makes Zhu Qing even more frightened is that she will be affected by his breath. If you change to someone else, not to mention a first-level emperor, even if a third-level emperor held her like this, her state of mind would not fluctuate in the slightest, but being rushed by his breath, Zhu Qing clearly felt that her body was involuntarily shaking. Some subtle reactions. This left her horrified and annoyed. What's the matter with this man? When drinking, a vigorous and powerful calf has been lifted up quickly, kicking towards Yang Kai's crotch mercilessly. This attack failed, because Yang Kai's legs opened and closed, directly clamping her round and straight thighs between them, and in an instant, with brute force, Zhu Qing couldn't break free. Due to her height, Zhu Qing's legs were not considered slender, but the proportions were excellent, and the muscles on her legs were soft with a hint of rigidity. The touch is also extremely wonderful. Under this clip, Yang Kai actually showed a soul-granting expression. With both arms restrained and one leg pinched, Zhu Qing seemed to be hanging on Yang Kai's body at first glance, not to mention how ambiguous this posture is. Especially Yang Kai is currently dressed in rags, almost half naked. Such an intimate contact, although not to the extent of skin-to-skin contact, it is not far behind. It's just a barrier of clothing. Zhu Qing's face changed again, and she finally panicked. Yang Kai took another deep breath, his expression was joyful and struggling, and he frowned. What did you do to me? He instinctively thought that his emotional outage was the reason for Zhu Qing's tricks. I really didn't realize that this woman is not only powerful, but also proficient in charm. I don't know when she used the method to affect her body unconsciously. But he is also a little strange. He has come into contact with many women who practice seductiveness, and none of them are coquettish and charming. Unknown currency novella unknown currency net, www. Unknown currency. This Zhu Qing does not look like she has practiced any kind of charm. Zhu Qing heard the words, she couldn't express her suffering, she could only grit her teeth and said, what can I do to you? Let go, or you will die. With Yang Kai's strength, he directly pulled her into his arms, and in an instant, the two hugged each other tightly, the plump and straight chest squeezed on Yang Kai's chest, and there was an astonishing elasticity. Yang Kai clearly felt two bulges, pressing against his chest, causing the acupoint in his heart to suddenly expand a bit. Gently blowing on Zhu Qing's delicate earlobe, Yang Kai said, do you know what playing with fire is? A strange feeling of numbness swept over her whole body, and Zhu Qing shivered for no reason. Although she didn't know what she was like now, she knew that her ears would definitely turn red. Sure enough, Yang Kai tilted his head back slightly, stared at her earlobe with interest for a while, and then grinned, so sensitive. Zhu Qing became angry from embarrassment, suppressed the discomfort in her heart, looked coldly at Yang Kai who was close at hand, and said, let me go, I'm not joking with you, otherwise, even though the star realm is big, there will be no place for you. Yang Kai's face turned cold, he raised his hand, clasped her head, and yanked her back. Zhu Qing screamed, and involuntarily leaned back, showing a painful expression. Do I seem to be joking with you? Yang Kai's face was full of hostility, as if he was a different person. You came to trouble me unilaterally and wanted to kill me unilaterally, but now I have captured you. But you still dare to threaten me, are you out of your mind? You forced me to do this. Zhu Qing gritted her teeth. Her beautiful eyes slowly closed, and when she opened them again, suddenly a dragon chant resounded through the sky. Yang Kai could see clearly, a huge fiery red giant dragon phantom. Suddenly, she flashed behind Zhu Qing, and immediately after, Zhu Qing's tender body was filled with the pressure of a dragon, and the long black hair suddenly became fiery red. Not only that, but on the top of her head, there was two small dragon horns were born, and the dragon horns were also fiery red, looking very delicate. After this sudden turn of events, after the sound of the dragon chant, Zhu Qing's aura suddenly became extremely dangerous. Yang Kai was stunned, but quickly curled his lips and said, the origin of the dragon. I have it too. No wonder Yang Kai felt a little weird when he saw Zhu Qing for the first time. He didn't realize it at that time, but now looking back on it, there was indeed an inexplicable sense of intimacy, but Zhu Qing's domineering look made Yang Kai not think too much about it. This intimacy quickly turned into disgust. Only now did I know that that kind of intimacy was not an illusion, because the other party actually had the origin of the dragon. This makes sense. This yellow-haired girl doesn't look very old, she is petite and exquisite, but she has infinite strength, obviously because she has refined the origin of the dragon. The words fell, and the body shook. The high-pitched dragon chant pierced the sky, shattering in all directions, and the huge golden holy dragon phantom suddenly descended, suspended behind Yang Kai, and the dragon's eyes, which were the size of a house, were filled with endless majesty, staring ahead. Ancestor. Zulong. Zhu Qing's breath froze, she stared blankly at the phantom of the golden saint dragon behind Yang Kai, her beautiful eyes were full of disbelief, she was shocked, frightened, and delighted. Jin Shenglong glanced at her slowly, Zhu Qing's delicate body trembled, and under that glance, she found herself feeling humble for no reason. The next moment, Jin Shenglong's phantom was cast into Yang Kai's body and disappeared. What did you say? Yang Kai asked with a frown. After he discovered that he had activated the original power of the Golden Saint Dragon, he suddenly had an extremely absurd feeling, that is, he could kill and seize Zhu Qing in front of him. This feeling came from its inexplicable, but it makes people believe deeply, and Yang Kai didn't hear what Zhu Qing was muttering among the doubts. But looking around, Yang Kai was startled slightly, because Zhu Qing's aura that had suddenly changed due to urging the dragon's origin returned to normal, and the fiery long hair turned black again, as if being inexplicably even the two dragon horns on his forehead disappeared. Jian Shui's pupils were full of water, staring blankly at Yang Kai, reflecting an indescribable emotion. The blood in his body was churning, and his breathing became heavier. Yang Kai felt that he could not suppress the evil thoughts in his heart. Being stared at by those watery eyes again, feeling the warmth and nephrite in his arms, the last trace of reason is also shattered. It was so powerful that it seemed to crush Zhu Qing into powder. Zhu Qing couldn't help snorting, her plump body involuntarily clinging to Yang Kai's body. Leaning down, grabbing those two bright red lips, they kissed arrogantly and domineeringly. A murmur sounded. Zhu Qing's eyes widened suddenly, a feeling that she had never felt before swept her whole body, and the shame of being violated enveloped her heart. I can't use 30% of my strength. It's still playing the trick of refusing to welcome at this time. Yang Kai snorted coldly, feeling that Zhu Qing's power was not as good as before, and decided that Zhu Qing was using her seductive skills to seduce him, otherwise he would be the same as Emperor Zun. How could he not be able to suppress his desire? Since you want to play with fire, then Ben Xiao will play with you and see who suffers. The red lips of the woman in front of him were extremely hot, like a ball of flames, which gave Yang Kai an unimaginable joyful experience. While Zhu Qing was in a daze, he had already braved the wind and waves, opened his teeth, caught the lilac tongue, and sucked it greedily. Yang Kai was not satisfied, he simply let go of her hands, grabbed her waist from behind with one hand, climbed up her delicate and round buttocks, kneaded wantonly, covered Zhaofeng with the other hand, and played vigorously. She lost control of her hands. Zhu Qing naturally struggled to resist, but she couldn't exert 30% of her strength. Even though she hammered Yang Kai, she still couldn't stop his invasion, but because these actions aroused his fierceness, more sex and interest. Gradually, the strength of resistance became much weaker, and the suppressed nature gradually revealed. Zhu Qing hugged Yang Kai with her backhand, her 10 fingers drew deep blood marks on Yang Kai's bare back, and she whispered strangely voice. A drop of crystal tear slipped from the corner of the eye, and fell silently down the cheek. Pain and joy coexisted, and the confrontation between nature and reason made people at a loss as to what to do. To be continued. Chapter 2678. Welcome to come again next time. What will happen to Mr. Yang? That woman seems to be very difficult to mess with. Yi Jinghan asked worriedly, recalling the scene in front of the city lord's mansion just now. She still has lingering fears. Since Brother Yang took the initiative to lure her out, he is sure of it. Although Du Xian said so, he was not sure, and could only look at Yingfei with a questioning gaze. Yingfei didn't say a word, but there was a hidden worry on his stern face. Both Yi Jinghan and Du Xian are only at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, so they can't feel the horror of that woman at all, but as a demon king, he can clearly feel the power of that girl. The performance in front of the city lord's mansion was just the tip of the iceberg of that girl's strength. If her strength was fully exploited, Yingfei would not be sure of defeating her. Although Yang Kai is not vulgar, he is still at the 1st level of Emperor Senior. So even though Yang Kai told them not to follow, Yingfei still chased after them, just in case. Following the aura left by Yang Kai all the way, he did not chase the wrong direction, but after entering the mountains, all he saw along the way were the traces left after the Great War. The surrounding mountains were broken, the trees collapsed, and the smell of blood permeated the void. It can be seen how dangerous this battle is. Yingfei's brows couldn't help but wrinkled, secretly praying in his heart that nothing would happen to Yang Kai. After sniffing his nose and confirming the direction, the eagle-flying demon surged, enveloping Yi Jinghan and Du Xian and galloping towards the same direction. After a while, Du Xian suddenly pointed his hand and said, "Over there." Although separated by tens of miles, Du Xian still keenly noticed that there were 2 figures on the ground over there. He didn't know what the situation was like at the moment, but there was no news of a battle, but the 2 people were close together. The ground is entangled together, as if they are wrestling. Yingfei narrowed his eyes, and immediately flew over there. The distance of tens of miles, but in a blink of an eye. "Young Master Yang," Yingfei whispered, but as soon as the words came out, he opened his mouth wide and looked at the ground in front of him foolishly. Yi Jinghan and Du Xian were also stunned, and their expressions gradually became strange. After chasing this way, traces of the great battle can be seen everywhere. Although the few people did not see it personally, they can almost foresee the hardships of this battle. They thought that Yang Kai was in a dire situation, but the scene in front of them made them unable to think. "I saw that on the ground." Yang Kai and the girl hugged each other tightly. Yang Kai's upper body was almost naked. He pressed the girl on his body, and moved his hands up and down, but the girl also hugged Yang Kai back, fingers on Yang Kai's back. There were bloodstains on his face, which looked extremely violent, and murmurs of joy or pain came into his ears, making people's mouth dry. This. Ying Fei was speechless, he just wanted to ask, what the hell is going on? Don't look at evil, don't look at evil. Du Xian hastily stretched out his hand to cover Yi Jinghen's eyes, but he himself watched with gusto and couldn't take his eyes off it. Yi Jinghen blushed, slapped Du Xian's hand away angrily, twisted his ears, and pulled his head to the other side. Du Xian laughed dryly. Let's go. Ying Fei immediately realized that it was the Demon King, whispered something to Du Xian and Yi Jinghen, then immediately turned around and returned along the original road. Although he doesn't know what happened, but Yang Kai's life is undoubtedly not in danger, but it seems to have conquered that rude girl. Ying Fei has the nerve to stay and disturb Yang Kai's good deeds. But unfortunately, the arrival of the three still caught the attention of Yang Kai and Zhu Qing. Zhu Qing, who was immersed in the outburst of her nature and the suppression of her blood, suddenly regained a little clarity in her mind, and gritted her teeth hard. Hiss. Yang Kai sucked in a breath of cold air, only feeling that his tongue almost broke after biting this bite, and quickly raised his head. Zhu Qing stretched out her hands, stretched across his chest, blocked him, opened the distance between the two sides, panting heavily, her face was flushed, with a lingering look, she said coldly, "You are enough. Already." Yang Kai looked at her, quite interesting, smiled and said, "It's not enough." Zhu Qing said angrily, "Don't push yourself too hard." She glanced at the big hand that was still kneading her chest, and said, "Get your dirty hand away." Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders, and squeezed again, making Zhu Qing's brow furrowed, before turning over. After Ying Fei and others ruined his good deeds, he was embarrassed to do anything wrong again. He was not thick-skinned to this extent, and after this action, he felt that the desire in his body had vented a lot, although he was still holding back. It's uncomfortable, but people seem to be reluctant, and Yang Kai is not easy to use. Breaking free from Yang Kai's control, Zhu Qing sprang up all of a sudden, pulling a distance of 30 feet from Yang Kai, and then looked at him coldly, the expression in her beautiful eyes extremely complicated. She just sensed that Yang Kai refined some taboo things, so she would find trouble with Yang Kai, but she would have suffered such a big loss in the end. The feeling of being wanton and frivolous still remained, making her feel uncomfortable all over. First time, Yang Kai reached out and tore off his tattered clothes, and took out another set to put on again, asking without raising his head. Feeling puzzled in her heart, since Zhu Qing has practiced charm, she even hesitated to serve a tiger with her body. How could this be the first time? But that jerky feeling cannot be faked. Faintly, Yang Kai felt that Zhu Qing hadn't practiced any charm technique, and recalling his uncontrollable performance just now, it seemed that it was not because of the charm technique, but a kind of instinct from the body. Do you lack women to this extent? Not so. What? Zhu Qing was stunned, but soon understood what Yang Kai meant. Her cheeks were still flushed and pink, and she said angrily, "It's none of your business." Are you responsible? Yang Kai winked at her, and under Emperor Yuan's secret urging, his mood gradually calmed down. Get out. Zhu Qing was furious, and said bitterly, "This matter is not over, you wait." Turning around and running. Yang Kai smiled and said, "Thanks for your patronage, welcome to come again next time." Zhu Qing staggered and almost fell from the air. Yang Kai's wanton laughter came from behind her, which made her feel even more ashamed. After flying out for a while, I saw the Demon King standing aside with two humans. Seeing her flying, the Demon King smiled and nodded at her, showing a friendly look. If it had been before, she would have punched her in the past, but the embarrassing incident was just broken by someone. How could Zhu Qing have the face to meet Ying Fei, and her delicate body turned into a stream of light and disappeared? Yang Xiaoyan is quite blessed. Ying Fei looked at Zhu Qingfei's figure and raised his eyebrows. Although this woman is a bit rude, she is indeed powerful, and I don't know what kind of shocking method Yang Xiao used to take her down in such a short period of time. As a man, Ying Fei treated Yang Kai simply. I admire the five-body cast. Yes, Du Xian deeply agreed. Yi Jinghen squinted at him and snorted, "Why do I smell a sour smell?" Du Xian was shocked, and said with a flattering smile, "No way, such a rude woman is not worthy to lift your shoes for junior sister. In the eyes of senior brother, only junior sister, you are the only one in heaven and earth." Yi Jinghen shivered, rubbed her arms and said, "Okay, goosebumps." The corner of Du Xian's mouth twitched, he shook his head and sighed. "Didn't I tell you not to come here?" Yang Kai's figure suddenly flashed in front of Ying Fei. Ying Fei said with a sneer, I came here to sweep the battle for young Master Yang. If I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have come here anyway. Forgive young Master Yang. If it wasn't for him bringing Yi Jinghan and Du Xian to break good things, the two of them probably wouldn't have separated so quickly. Maybe they could cook the raw rice, and that woman would be Yang Kai's man by then. Ying Fei felt very ashamed. No problem. Yang Kai waved his hand, staring at the void in front of him. Today's fact is really weird. Zhu Qing came to her door for no reason, and she had a turmoil with her for no reason, like a dream, gone without a trace. He licked his lips, and there seemed to be a lingering fragrance. Young Master Yang, what is that woman? Ying Fei asked cautiously. Such a powerful woman definitely has a lot of background. If she can subdue her, it will be a great help. I don't know. Yang Kai shook his head, and even though he and Zhu Qing had a physical relationship, they only knew her name in the end, and she didn't know her origin at all. Young Master Yang is martial. Ying Fei admired him so much that he surrendered without even knowing his identity. He is simply a role model among men and a role model for my generation. Haha, the charm is too great, there is no way. Yang Kai laughed. Yi Jinghan immediately cast a disdainful look. Flowing Film City, in the inn. Zhu Qing returned in a hurry, opened the restriction in the room, and sat down on the bed in a daze. Today, stealing a chicken and losing money is simply the greatest shame in life, a stain of a lifetime, but when she thinks that the other party has the origin of the ancestral dragon but also relieved a lot. That kind of natural suppression is not something she can resist. Fortunately, he was not completely lost in the original energy, and finally escaped. It's not that this matter has too much to do with it, it's not something she can handle at will. After pondering for a while, Zhu Qing took a deep breath, calmed down her turbulent mood, and took out a jade pendant from her space ring. The jade pendant was in the shape of a dragon, lifelike, and looking around, it seemed like a giant dragon was rushing towards her. Zhu Qing stretched out her hand, bit her fingertips, and a drop of blood oozed out instantly. The strange thing was that the blood was burning like a ball of flame. The blood was imprinted into the jade pendant, and soon disappeared, making the whole jade pendant glow red. Suddenly, the longan on the dragon-shaped jade pendant turned, and a breath as deep as the sea descended. Elder, Zhu Qing said respectfully with a solemn expression. Any news? An old voice came out from the jade pendant. This voice seemed to contain a great majesty, stronger than Zhu Qing's whole body froze when she heard it. No, Zhu Qing replied quickly. Since there is no such thing, why use the dragon talisman? Zhu Qing said. I saw the origin of the Zulong. As soon as this remark came out, the light on the dragon talisman suddenly flickered, and the old voice hurriedly asked, what did you say? To be continued. Chapter 2679 Dragon Clan. Zhu Qing took a deep breath and replied, I have seen the origin of the Zulong. Is this true? The old voice suddenly became extremely excited. Yes. Zhu Qing nodded. I saw it with my own eyes, and there is absolutely no mistake. Where did you see it? When did you see it? Quick, tell me everything you know. Zhu Qingdang was about to talk about what happened after she met Yang Kai today, but she concealed the matter of being severely molested by Yang Kai. After all, she was a woman, and it was too disgraceful to say this, and she couldn't hold back her face. Recalling Yang Kai's rough treatment, Zhu Qing couldn't help feeling a little itchy with hatred, never thought that the first contact with a man would happen under such circumstances. After listening, the dragon eyes on the dragon talisman flickered, and after a while he said, it can easily suppress your original power, and it is golden, it really is the origin of the ancestor dragon. The old voice was extremely excited, as if he had encountered something that made him extremely excited. He paused and said, are you sure that person is a human? Sure, Zhu Qing replied, but he seems to have a few secret dragon treasures, and he understands some superficial dragon transformation secrets. The old voice said, since he has obtained the origin of the ancestral dragon, what's so special about refining a few secret treasures of the dragon? Elder, the origin of the ancestral dragon is a matter of great importance. Do you want me to bring him back to the island? Zhu Qing asked. The old voice said, do you have this ability? I wish you no words. Although Yang Kai only has the cultivation base of Emperor Senior Level 1, she can crush it at will, but the ancestor dragon origin in the other party's body suppresses her too much, and the entanglement with Yang Kai before also made this point. He was subdued by Yang Kai before he showed half of his strength. Unless the elders personally take action against such a person, no one can resist the suppression of ancestral dragon origin. Then what should we do? Zhu Qingdai frowned. The origin of Zulong is no different from others. Her clan has been in existence for tens of thousands of years, and now she has finally discovered something. How can I ignore it? The dragon talisman was silent, and after a long while he said, "Follow him, try to build a good relationship with him, and when the opportunity is right, invite him to come to the island as a guest. Befriend him." Zhu Qing froze, frowning and said, "He is just a mere human, what qualifications does he have?" "Ancestral dragon has the right to be qualified." The old voice interrupted Zhu Qing before she could finish speaking. The tone was unquestionable, with a trace of anger. "You question me?" Zhu Qing's body trembled. She lowered her head and said, "Zhu Qing dare not." The old voice said, "No matter what the price is, we must invite him back to the island." "Then, my mission?" Zhu Qing asked hesitantly. "Continue to investigate, don't force it." The old voice replied, "Compared with the appearance of Zulong Yuan, Zhu Qing's original mission is nothing more than a token." "Yes." Zhu Qing nodded respectfully. The light of the dragon eye on the dragon talisman gradually dimmed, and the deep aura gradually disappeared. Zhu Qing put it away again, and sat on the bedside with frowns, terribly upset. This time, he suffered such a big loss from Yang Kai's hands. According to Zhu Qing's thinking, it is necessary to find an opportunity to tear him into pieces. Yi Shui hates him, but the elder's order is to try to communicate with him. It is good A mere lowly human being wants this girl to pay every detail. Simply. Yueli Inn, the largest inn in Liang City, is the property of Liang Sword Sect. Yang Kai waited to come back here, booked a few upper rooms, and went to the downstairs hall to eat. With his level of strength and cultivation, he naturally no longer needs to eat. The body is the furnace, good fortune is the salary, and the aura of heaven and earth is the best food, and it's okay to eat it occasionally. The main reason is that Yi Jinghan and Du Xian have always been a little gloomy. Worried, Yang Kai didn't know how to enlighten them, so he brought them here to drink away their worries. A jar of spirits was brought up, but Yi Jinghan never refused to come, and after a while, she was so drunk that she fell into Du Xian's arms and fell into a deep sleep. Du Xian gave Yang Kai an apologetic look. Yang Kai waved his hand lightly and told him to take Yi Jinghan down to rest. Yang Kai and Ying Fei were left to drink together. After drinking for 3 rounds, Yang Kai suddenly said, "Demon King, that woman said her name is Zhu Qing, what do you think?" He suddenly remembered that when Zhu Qing reported her family name, she said a very strange sentence. At that time, Yang Kai didn't think much about it. Now that he recalled it, that sentence seemed to have a lot of meaning. It's just that Yang Kai thought about it, but still couldn't figure it out. Although Ying Fei lived in the wild and ancient land for a long time, after all, he had practiced for a long time, and his experience were beyond his own. Ask him what he might have. At the very least, one must understand Zhu Qing's background. He didn't think that woman would let it go easily, she had spoken harshly when she left before. Ying Fei paused slightly for the wine glass, stared at Yang Kai with wide eagle eyes, and said, "You said, her name is Zhu Qing. What's wrong?" Yang Kai looked at him suspiciously. Ying Fei's reaction seemed a little big. Ying Fei's face changed for a while, and suddenly he showed a clear expression. He drank the wine in one gulp, and said solemnly, "On the Dragon Island in the East China Sea, the great elder of the Dragon clan is called Zhu Yan." Yang Kai narrowed his eyes, and said sternly, "The Demon King means, she is from the Dragon clan." Ying Fei said, "It's just a guess, I'm not sure. However, Zhu Qing said before that if I say that word again, I will be fine." Later, I thought about it carefully, and I don't know which word violated her taboo, but now it seems, there is indeed one word that annoys her. "Which word?" Yang Kai asked. Ying Fei said, "Yang Xiaoke still remember what I said at that time?" Yang Kai thought about it, grinned and said, "You said that I am handsome, among people." The words suddenly stopped, and suddenly said. Ying Fei also nodded and said, "If she is from the Dragon clan, then it makes sense. The Dragon clan has always been reckless and rampant, even other holy spirits don't pay much attention to it, let alone me, a monster clan. If I praise young Master Yang, it will indeed make her angry." Speaking of this, Ying Fei's face turned pale, and he was a little scared secretly. Although he is a demon king, the other party is the Holy Spirit. No wonder she has such great strength, The power of the dragon clan has always been beyond common sense, no wonder I can't see through her cultivation. It turned out that Zhu Qing was actually a dragon clan. Thinking of this, I admire Yang Kai even more. That's a dragon clan. What kind of method did young Master Yang use to subdue him in such a short time, and even used his hands to take advantage of him? On the other hand, the other party doesn't seem to have much intention of resisting. If he hadn't brought Yi Jinghan and Du Xian to break through, I'm afraid all the little dragons would have been born. How could such a thing happen? The dragon clan is proud and regards itself as the leader of all spirits. No race will be taken seriously by them, let alone the humble human race. Being a human, how can Zhu Qing, a dragon clan, endure it? Young Master Yang, are you also a dragon clan? Ying Fei suddenly had a funny thought, recalling all the inconceivable things about Yang Kai. It seems that only being a dragon clan can explain it. Only the more powerful dragons can conquer the dragons. Yang Kai laughed loudly, patted his chest and said, the human race is like a fake. Ying Fei smiled wryly, not knowing whether to believe it or not. Excuse me, Your Excellency, Yang Kai, Master Yang. At this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly came to the table, lowered his eyebrows and lowered his eyes, and asked with a trembling body. Ying Fei glanced at him, and found that this guy was only at the first level of Daoyuan, and he didn't pay much attention to it, but unexpectedly, under Ying Fei's gaze, the man suddenly screamed, knelt down on the ground with a plop, and howled, My lord, spare my life, my lord, spare my life, but the villain is just here to deliver a letter. Although Yang Kai was extremely presumptuous in Liang City before, he was not too eye-catching, but Ying Fei later exposed his identity and cultivation, but it surprised everyone, knowing that this guy was actually a genuine monster. King. Now that the middle-aged man came to deliver the letter, he was not afraid of Yang Kai, but rather afraid of Ying Fei. No one wants your life. Yang Kai glanced at him, raised his chin slightly and said, What letter? The middle-aged man quietly looked at Ying Fei, and found that he didn't look at him at all, so he gasped, reached into his arms, took out a bronzing page and handed it to Yang Kai. Yang Kai took a look and grinned, invitation card. The middle-aged man nodded repeatedly and said, Exactly. Who told you to send it? Yang Kai asked. Yes. The middle-aged man was about to answer, but his eyes suddenly became blank. After thinking for a while, he couldn't remember it, and instead had a splitting headache. Young Master Yang, someone erased that part of his memory with a secret technique. Ying Fei's eyes flashed, and he saw the clue. Yang Kai nodded slightly, flicked his sleeves, and sent the middle-aged man out of the door. Since someone has tampered with the sender, it's meaningless to ask any further questions, and I'm afraid there won't be anything to ask. Taking a closer look at the invitation in his hand, Yang Kai couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Young Master Yang, what kind of invitation is this? Ying Fei asked. Yang Kai handed over the invitation casually, took a sip from his wine glass and said, It looks like someone is impatient. An invitation card for the auction. Ying Fei frowned slightly after seeing the content on the invitation card. They came to Liang City this time just for this auction, but they didn't think they hadn't made any moves yet, and someone took the initiative to send the invitation, as if they were afraid that they wouldn't go. Young Master Yang, this is a trap, and it's very dangerous. Today he has exposed his identity and cultivation, and the person hidden in the darkness dared to take the initiative to send invitations. No doubt there is a way to deal with him, the Demon King, so he is so confident. I'm not a fool, how can I not see such an obvious thing? Yang Kai smiled slightly. Do you want to call Lao Niu and Wu Wu? Ying Fei whispered. To be continued. Chapter 2680 Courageous. Since the unknown enemy included his threat, the arrangement must be extremely thorough, but even if the enemy counted all the secrets, I am afraid that Shi Lei and Xie Wuwei did not exist. Yang Kai only needs to set up the space magic circle, and then he can get the two demon kings from the Northern Territory. At that time, in front of absolute power, no matter what conspiracy or trick is, it will be nothing but magic. And he does have this ability, and now there is still some time before the auction starts. Yang Kai only needs to arrange a space magic circle somewhere, and then he can take over the two demon kings without anyone noticing. After thinking about it seriously, Yang Kai slowly shook his head. No need. Firstly, the amount of empty spirit crystals and ethereal jade left in his hand is not much, and he doesn't want to waste it. Secondly, once the two demon kings are really taken over, they might startle the snake. After all, the 4 of them entered Liang City, suddenly there are 2 more, I am afraid that anyone will be suspicious. He could hide Xile and Xie in mysterious Shaoji, but the less people know about the mysterious boundary orb, the better. Seeing Yang Kai like this, Ying Fei couldn't persuade him anymore, he could only secretly make up his mind to keep him safe no matter what. Let's go out with me, Yang Kai said, leaving some source crystals as money for food and drinks, and walked out of the inn with Ying Fei. Before he came to Liang City, he vaguely felt that this option was a conspiracy, as if it was deliberately arranged to wait for someone to throw himself into the trap. But after arriving in Liang City and seeing the suzerain of Liang sword sect, this guess became more and more firm. At this moment, he suddenly got an invitation to the auction again, which made him wonder whether this conspiracy was aimed at him in the first place. He can't think through, but he doesn't want to act according to other people's arrangements. Since the auction will be held in Liang City, the auctioned items will naturally appear in Liang City. He wants to see if Io and others are in the city now. If they are, he can directly snatch them away. Walking all the way to watch the flowers, Yang Kai's powerful spiritual sense tide generally covered the surroundings, extremely concealed. He is very familiar with the breath of Io and others, if he is really in Liang City, he will definitely notice it. But half a day later, Yang Kai still sighed, the enemy really wasn't so stupid, he didn't find anything. He took Ying Fei back home and walked into the Yuelai Inn. The shop waiter walked up to him, stood in front of Yang Kai, and said, "My lord, there is a guest waiting for you." Who? Yang Kai was surprised, he didn't know many people in Liang City. It's a woman. The shop waiter showed a meaningful smile, "I'm waiting in front of your room now." Yang Kai frowned, swept his spiritual mind, and immediately understood who was waiting for him. He couldn't help but be a little stunned. How could it be her? Ying Fei undoubtedly noticed it too, and said in a low voice, "Young Master Yang, be careful, this woman is not easy to provoke." "I understand." Yang Kai nodded, it's fine if he doesn't know her origin. Now that he knows her origin and identity, Yang Kai doesn't dare to underestimate her anymore. After giving some source crystals to the waiter in the shop, Yang Kai strode upstairs. Outside the room, a petite and exquisite woman was walking back and forth in front of a room. She was still muttering something, her expression was a little impatient, and she seemed to be a little lost. Even Yang Kai and Ying Fei, no one was surprised even after scanning the human mind. It wasn't until the sound of footsteps not far away that the woman suddenly stopped and looked up. As far as she could see, a face that made her wish she could smash it with a punch came into view. "Chinger, came to see me." Yang Kai looked at Zhu Qing with a smile, and walked towards her step by step. Zhu Qing's face darkened, and she said in a low voice, "What are you calling me?" "It's just too presumptuous, a mere human being dares to call his boudoir name." Ying Fei also had black lines all over his face, secretly admiring Yang Kai's courage, knowing that the other party was a dragon clan. He dared to provoke him like this, he was so courageous. A demon element secretly urged, ready to shoot at any time, although he is unwilling to be an enemy of a dragon, but Yang Kai's safety is the most important now. "What are you doing so coldly? I still like the way you were before." Yang Kai came to stand in front of her, looking at her with a smile, his eyes passing over her plump breasts. When the obscene light swept across like a substance, Zhu Qing's body trembled for no reason, and the feeling of frivolity hit her heart again. Ashamed and annoyed, she punched Yang Kai's face fiercely. She regretted it immediately after making the move. The elder ordered her to have a good relationship with Yang Kai, and then invited him to the island as a guest. Isn't she coming here just to turn hostility into friendship with him? Why can't she bear it for a while? Stop shooting it. Fist strength immediately received 7 points. Immediately afterwards, he was held by a big hand and rubbed gently. A strange feeling swept over her whole body, numb and numb. Zhu Qing blushed and said, "Let go." "Shouldn't stop, the punch just now smashed this hateful face to pieces is the best choice." While speaking, raised another small fist, as if he wanted to die with Yang Kai. Okay, just let go, don't be so irritable." Yang Kai touched a few times reluctantly, and then let go. Zhu Qing immediately jumped back, opened the distance with Yang Kai, her breasts rose and fell, and she ruthlessly shook her little hand that had been touched a few times, as if she wanted to shake off something unclean. Ying Fei was already in a cold sweat beside him. When Zhu Qing made a move just now, he almost couldn't hold back and did it too. Fortunately, he found that Zhu Qing withdrew some strength, but this made him even more puzzled. What is this dragon clan? on earth going to do? Could it be true that she fell in love with young Master Yang at first sight? Goodbye. Otherwise, how could he take the initiative to withdraw his strength under the rage? But looking at her appearance, it didn't seem like she fell in love with young Master Yang, but rather wanted to kill him. Eaglefly was confused. Yang Kai laughed. The indescribable obscenity of the laughter, took out the room token, opened the restraint, pushed open the door, leaned on the door frame and said, "If you have anything to say, come in." Zhu Qing didn't know what she was looking for, but since she was here, there must be something wrong, and Yang Kai wasn't afraid that she would back down. Anyway, he was also a proud dragon clan. A pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yang Kai resentfully. That look seemed to want to cut Yang Kai into pieces, but his feet did not move. Yang Kai smiled unabated and did not urge him. That contemptuous smile undoubtedly provoked Zhu Qing's arrogance. She gritted her teeth, and sneaked into the room. Courageous. Yang Kai grinned, thinking that since you took the initiative to throw yourself into your arms, then I can't blame me for eating you up this time. Turn around and close the door. Ying Fei stood in front of the door, seeing that posture was about to follow in, staring at Yang Kai with wide eyes, said, "Young Master Yang. Go, go." Yang Kai pouted, and the door slammed shut, almost knocking Ying Fei's nose flat. "Young Master Yang, you." Ying Fei was in a hurry, and shouted, "Young Master Yang has a knife on Seizi's head, don't fall into the trap of a beauty." There was no response at all in the room. Anxious eagles flew like ants on a hot pot. Du Xian poked his head out from the next room when he heard the movement, and asked, "What's wrong, my lord?" "It's okay," Ying Fei replied angrily, impatient in his heart, but he didn't dare to break into the door. But after thinking about it, last time Yang Kai was able to conquer Zhu Qing, there shouldn't be any serious danger this time, and Zhu Qing didn't have any murderous intentions from the beginning to the end, but he seemed a bit like a soldier. In the room, Yang Kai hugged Zhu Qing's waist as soon as he turned around, put his head on her fragrant shoulder, sniffed the intoxicating fragrance, stared at the white neck, and said softly, "Qinger, so missing me soon?" Zhu Qing froze. She didn't expect Yang Kai to be so daring. She would do something to herself as soon as she came up. It was too late to react. She said angrily, "Take your dirty hands away." Yang Kai ignored it, stuck out his tongue and licked Zhu Qing's earlobe. The delicate body in his arms shuddered violently, and immediately the head covered in black hair flew back violently. With a sound of hitting the ground, gold stars burst out of Yang Kai's eyes, and 2 lines of golden blood flowed out of his nostrils. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhu Qing immediately jumped away, stood by the corner and stared at him fiercely, gritted her teeth and said, "Please respect yourself." Yang Kai stretched out his hand and wiped his face indiscriminately. The feeling of pain came, but it calmed his agitated mood a little bit. Staring at Zhu Qing, sneered, "I didn't expect that the dignified dragon clan would also practice charm." Zhu Qing frowned and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? When did I practice charm?" Yang Kai snorted, "If you haven't practiced charm, why can't I hold back when I see you? You were born obscene, can you blame me?" Zhu Qing felt aggrieved. How can a dog eat poop and blame it for being too fragrant? No, how can I think so? Isn't this insulting myself? Fart. Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "Although this young master is not an upright gentleman, he can still sit in his arms and not mess around. When will he ever be lewd?" Zhu Qing sneered and said, "Your behavior is frivolous, not lewd or cheap." Yang Kai stared at her, waved his hand for a while and said, "Forget it, good men don't fight with women." Taking a deep breath, practicing mystical skills silently, suppressing the impulsive movement in my heart, I raised my head and said, "What do you want from me? Don't tell me that you really like me. Although I am also a responsible man, if you don't want to, I will not too much." Zhu Qing sneered and said, "You always feel so good about yourself." Yang Kai said casually, "I don't know who held this young man so tight, but there are still fingerprints on this young man's back. As expected of a dragon clan, his strength is great." "Shut up." Zhu Qing couldn't help becoming furious, and stomped her feet fiercely, almost collapsing the inn with violent brute force. The previous incident was simply the greatest humiliation in life. Yang Kai still chose which pot to open and which pot to carry. Taking a deep breath, Zhu Qing silently said in her heart that she should not be angry or angry, that the family's major issues are the main ones, and her sacrifice is just a small matter. After a long time, I finally calmed down, looked at Yang Kai and said, "Do you know that I am a dragon?" Yang Kai looked at her with a smile, but there was a storm in his heart. When he chatted with Ying Fei earlier, although he speculated that Zhu Qing was a dragon clan, it was just a guess. Chapter 2681 Let's be friends. Now she voluntarily admits that Yang Kai had some preparations in his heart, and it was shocking. Dragon Clan, the leader of all spirits, although this title is a bit self-proclaimed, it is not far behind. In ancient times, there were countless holy spirits, but dragons and phoenixes were still respected. Even now, most of the holy spirits are extinct, and the Dragon Clan can still occupy an island in the East China Sea and thrive. It can be said that this sacred and powerful race has witnessed the changes of the world and the passage of endless years. The dragon race is not only a title, but also a symbol of inheritance and strength. Yang Kai has the original power of the Golden Saint Dragon in his body, so when facing Zhu Qing, a living dragon, he didn't have too much restraint and fear, but instead had an inexplicable kindness. This kindness quickly turned into greed and covetousness, and he thought in his heart that if he could really subdue this dragon girl and make her his slave. Tisk tisk, life is like this, what more can I ask for? How do you know? Zhu Qing asked again. Yang Kai smiled slightly, pinched his fingers and said, this young master is proficient in the divination technique of Fuxi, just do the math. Zhu Qing glared at him angrily, thinking that she would be a ghost if she believed in you, but she revealed a lot of information when she fought with Yang Kai before. It is not surprising that Yang Kai could guess her Dragon Clan identity. It's nothing to know, but please keep it a secret, the identity of the Dragon Clan is a bit too shocking. Zhu Qing looked at Yang Kai sincerely. Although it is rumored in the world that there is a dragon island in the East Sea of the Eastern Territory, and many dragons live on the Dragon Island, but that is a rumor after all, and the world does not know the details. But if a living dragon girl is exposed to the eyes of the world, it will definitely cause unimaginable shock. No problem, Yang Kai responded readily, I'm not a villain who likes to chew my tongue. Zhu Qing showed gratitude, thinking that this person is actually good when he speaks well. Maybe I have some preconceived ideas, so no matter how I look at it, I feel that this face is a bit annoying, and it is time to change my view of him. But what benefits can you give me? Yang Kai changed the topic, and his aggressive eyes once again passed over the sensitive parts of Zhu Qing's body, as if a big hand wanted to strip her whole body. Zhu Qing took a deep breath. Slowly closing his eyes, his body trembled slightly. How naive of me to think this guy is not bad. You want what? Good place. Zhu Qing opened her eyes, and asked each word after gritting her teeth. The more she looked at this face, the more annoying she became. That depends on what you can give me. Yang Kai rested his cheeks and looked at her leisurely. Instinctively, I felt that my state was not right. Ever since I met Zhu Qing today, the suppressed and even long-forgotten desire kept churning. After I separated from her before, this feeling disappeared. Goodbye at this moment, the lonely man and widow are in the same room again, that kind of thought surged up again, even though I warned myself that this dragon girl is not easy to provoke, but this kind of excitement of playing with fire makes people want to stop. Zhu Qing stared at him deeply, and after a while, she gently parted her lips and said, friend. What? Yang Kai looked at her in astonishment. Zhu Qing took a deep breath and said, I can be friends with you. Although the tone is flat, but there was an unconcealable arrogance between those brows, as if this matter was a kind of gift. Yang Kai was stupefied in place immediately, staring at her blankly. Zhu Qing stared at him without hesitation. Yang Kai didn't respond for a long time. Zhu Qing frowned and said, you heard what I said. Ha 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 ha. Yang Kai laughed loudly, patting his thigh vigorously, making a loud noise. Zhu Qing was annoyed. What are you laughing at? Yang Kai stopped laughing and looked at Zhu Qing mockingly. Said, the arrogance of the Dragon Clan really lives up to its reputation. Zhu Qing also sneered lightly, it's better than the treachery of your humans. Yang Kai pondered for a while, then nodded and said, well, you are right. Human beings are indeed treacherous, and no one can deny this. But you said that you want to be friends with me. Do you know, what is a friend? Zhu Qing proudly said, I don't need to know. Yang Kai shook his head slowly, looked at her and said, you don't have any friends, do you? What kind of friends does a mighty dragon need? Zhu Qing snorted in her heart, showing disdain, but suddenly found that Yang Kai's expression had a trace of pity and sympathy, and she was suddenly annoyed. A mere lowly human race dared to look at herself with this expression. Slender fingers moved a bit, suppressing the thought of gouging out his eyeballs. Because I am not an opponent, rashly fighting with him is just asking for humiliation. Elder, the task you entrusted to me is really difficult. Qinger really doesn't know how to complete it. Maybe this is a test for me in the clan. Why do you want to be friends with me? Yang Kai asked with a frown. Of course it was because of the elder's order and the origin of the ancestral dragon, Zhu Qing said silently in her heart, and replied, does this need a reason? Don't you need it? Yang Kai was astonished. Zhu Qing showed impatience, gritted her teeth and said, just say you agree or not. I am a majestic dragon who wants to be friends with him. It is like smoke is rising from his ancestral grave, and he dares to push back and forth. It is really ignorant. So what if I agree? So what if I don't agree? Yang Kai looked at her with a smile, his expression suddenly turned serious, and said, my friend, it's not as simple as talking about it. I have never met such a person who said that he wanted to be friends with him, and even put on an expression of, you earned it. Yang Kai didn't know whether to say that Zhu Qing was unsophisticated or too arrogant. Then what should I do? Zhu Qing frowned and pondered for a while, and actually put on an expression of not being ashamed to ask. Yang Kai glanced at her, waved his hand, and said in a deep voice, as a friend, you should be both-sided, share your worries and solve problems. As a friend, you should treat each other honestly, with sincerity. As a friend. Be more specific. Zhu Qing interrupted him impatiently, what do you want me to do to be your friend? Yang Kai looked at her with a smile, patted the bed next to him, and said, I am short of a bed warmer now. If you can undress and accompany me for a night, I can think about it. Get out. Zhu Qing said a word out of her mouth. She was really a rascal, and she never left her line. And this kind of thing is not what friends need to do. Although Zhu Qing has no friends, how can she not understand common sense? Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders, looking helpless. Zhu Qing turned her head and reluctantly said, change to someone else. Then it's gone. Yang Kai spread his hands. What exactly do you want? Zhu Qing's face flushed red and she looked at him angrily. Yang Kai smashed the table in front of him with a slap, and said angrily, I want to ask you, what do you really want? It's really inexplicable. Ran over and said that he wanted to be friends with himself. This is the first time Yang Kai has encountered such a thing in his life. The word, friend, can be bought and sold by force. Zhu Qing pursed her red lips and said, I just want to be friends with you. Yang Kai glanced at her up and down, confirmed that the woman's head was normal, and she didn't have any nerves, and shouted, okay, I heard that there is a Jujian mountain villa in the western regions, and the sword wine brewed is the best in the world. It is the great emperor. I am full of praise after drinking it, if you can get some. Zhu Qing's eyes lit up, and she said, you just want to be friends with me. Yang Kai stroked his chin and said, let's see when the time comes. You. Zhu Qing was furious, you are too deceitful. Yang Kai sneered again and again, I am like this, if I can't stand it, get out. Okay. No one has ever dared to do this to me, you will regret it. Zhu Qing glared at him bitterly, said a harsh word, turned around and walked outside. Yang Kai turned his face and smiled and said, it's getting late, Qinger, why don't you stay overnight? Zhu Qing had just walked to the door and was about to open it to go out. When she heard this, she punched forward fiercely. In an instant, the door of the room broke open a big hole. Amidst the splashes of broken wood, Zhu Qing turned her head and glanced at Yang Kai before turning around and rushing into the darkness. Outside the door, Ying Fei was drenched in cold sweat, and after Zhu Qing had gone far away, he probed and found that Yang Kai was safe and sound. He was relieved and said, young Master Yang, what happened to her? Ghost knows. Yang Kai laughed happily, feeling a lot lighter in his heart. After this incident, Zhu Qing will never come to pester herself again, right? Although it is a good thing to be seen by a dragon girl and be forced to be friends, but once he gets along with her, Yang Kai can't suppress the desire in his heart, which is a big problem. He was afraid that one day he would really be unable to hold back and give her an overlord, and that would offend the entire dragon clan. All in all, although this Zhu Qing seemed harmless, her existence was too dangerous for him. Yang Kai was puzzled. Zhu Qing didn't practice the charm technique, and her face was not so stunning that he couldn't suppress it, but why did he feel so eager to move when he smelled her scent? This. A half-grown old man wearing a golden robe who looked like a rich landlord ran up suddenly, and when he saw Yang Kai's tattered door, he was shocked and exclaimed again and again. Every room here has been blessed with a restraining formation, which cannot be destroyed by ordinary emperors, but now a big hole suddenly appeared in this door. I really don't know who did it, it is simply audacious. Which one are you? Ying Fei glanced at him and asked. The half-grown old man seemed to know Yingfei's identity, and replied respectfully after hearing the words, "My lord, the young one is the shopkeeper of this inn, but I don't know that just now." "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask." Yingfei glanced at him lightly, took out some source crystals from the space ring and threw them over, saying, "This is considered compensation, and I will give my young master a new room." "Yes, yes, yes." The innkeeper nodded incessantly, and hurriedly made up his mind. If other people make trouble in this inn, he will not let it go. Although he is only the innkeeper, he is backed by Liang Sword Sect, and there is an organization in Liang City. But who is Yingfei? He is a powerful demon king. Liang Sword Sect is a fart in front of him. After a short while, he rearranged a guest room for Yang Kai and retreated respectfully. To be continued. Chapter 2682 Wu Ming. On the second day, Yang Kai was still meditating when there was a knock on the door. Sweeping his mind, he found that it was actually Yi Jinghan and Du Xian. Yang Kai opened the door, looked at the two of them and asked, "What's the matter?" Yi Jinghan tremblingly said, "Young Master Yang, Liang Sword Sect sent my father here, and he is outside the inn now." Sect Master Yi. Yang Kai wanted to see Yi Hen's face in his mind, and nodded slightly. Forget about Li Qingyan's knowledge, since he sent it over, then just accept it. Du Xian said in shame, "It was Li Qingyan who sent it over personally." After all, Li Qingyan is also at the first level of Emperor Senior. He and Yi Jinghan are only at the source level, so they are not qualified to talk on an equal footing. Moreover, they don't know what Liang Sword Sect's visit means, so they can only ask Yang Kai to come forward. Yang Kai heard the words and nodded. "Then I will go with you." "Thank you, Brother Yang," Du Xian said gratefully. "What are you being polite about?" Yang Kai smiled, but sighed in his heart. If his previous guess was correct, then the disaster that Chen Yizong encountered this time was probably caused by himself. The three of them walked out, and Yingfei rushed out from nowhere, following behind Yang Kai. "When I got outside the inn, I saw Li Qingyan standing outside, dressed in white, carrying a long sword, and looked like a swordsman. And in front of him was Yi Hen. Although his expression was a little sluggish, he showed no signs of being tortured, probably because the sect was destroyed and countless disciples were killed and injured, and his heart was hit." "Father! Master!" Yi Jinghan and Du Xian shouted together, and immediately glared at Li Qingyan again. Yi Hen looked up at the two of them, showing a wry smile. The Chenyi sect has been passed down for tens of thousands of years, and now it is exterminated in his generation. He is really ashamed of his ancestors, seeing his daughter and eldest disciple again after a year. Yi Hen's mood is quite complicated. Li Qingyan didn't say anything, just cupped his fist slightly at Yang Kai, and left without looking back. It seems that his purpose of this trip is to send Yi Hen over. As he said, the Black Hand behind the scenes has already got what he wants, and it doesn't matter whether Yi Hen lives or dies. It is precisely because of this that Yi Hen was able to save his life after being captured by Liang Sword Sect, otherwise he would have been killed long ago. "Father!" Yi Jinghan pounced forward, examined Yi Hen's body carefully, and was relieved to make sure that he was not missing any arms or legs. "Sect Master Yi." Yang Kai stepped forward and cupped his hands. "Young Master Yang." Yi Hen and Yang Kai were old acquaintances, seeing him with his daughter and eldest disciple, who didn't know that it was thanks to Yang Kai that he was able to get out of trouble easily this time, and couldn't help but feel grateful. "Go in and talk." Yang Kai stretched out his hand to signal. Yi Hen nodded. With the support of Yi Jinghan and Du Xian, he walked into the inn step by step. Entering the wing room, Yang Kai asked the shop waiter to serve the banquet, and several people sat cross-legged, hurting the drinking. Yi Jinghan asked for warmth for a while, and learned that Yi Hen had not been tortured in Liang Sword Sect, but was placed under house arrest, and the hatred for Liang Sword Sect in her heart disappeared a lot. But after this blow, Yi Hen seemed to have aged a lot all of a sudden, and looked a little senile. Drinking a glass of wine, looking lonely. He has long been a Daoyuan third-layer cultivation base. After Yang Kai brought back many secret arts and classics from Chen Yizong that had been lost for many years from Emperor Tiangu, Yi Hen was also confident that he could break through to Emperor Senior realm in his lifetime, but this ambition before he had time to unleash his ambition, he was wiped out by a powerful enemy. It really is impermanent. There are always things in the sky. Now that his heart has been hit, he doesn't know if he will have a chance to become Emperor Zun in this life. Yang Kai raised his glass and said, "Sect Master Yi, what happened to Chenyi sect this time may have something to do with me." Yi Hen gave him a surprised look, as if he misunderstood something. With a wry smile, "It's because of Mr. Hua, it has nothing to do with Mr. Yang." Yang Kai shook his head and said, "Sister Hua's matter is just an inducement, Kai Yu and I are the targets of those guys." Yi Hen wondered, "How do you say that?" Yi Jinghen and Du Xian also looked at Yang Kai suspiciously. Yang Kai pondered for a while, and said, "I don't know how to explain it, it's just a feeling. This may be a conspiracy against me, Chenny sect just happened to be at the right time, everything is to lure me to Liang City." Yi Hen froze. If this is the case, then Chen Yizong is too unlucky. "Sorry." Yang Kai looked at Yi Hen and said in a deep voice. Yi Hen smiled wryly, and said, "Mr. Yang doesn't have to be like this. It is my Chenny sect who should have suffered such a catastrophe. Yi Hen never dares to forget the great kindness you have shown me to Chenny sect, even if this incident is caused by you. I, Yi Hen, have no complaints at all, I only hate that my Chenny sect is too weak to resist strong enemies." Yang Kai Dao. "Don't worry, Sect Master Yi, no matter who is behind the scenes this time, I will avenge Chenny sect for you." Yi Hen smiled and said, "With Mr. Yang's words, Yi can feel at ease. But, the enemy is in the dark, and I am in the light. Do you have confidence?" Yi Jinghen glanced at Yingfei, and leaned closer to Yi Hen's ear and whispered. Yi Hen was shocked when he heard the words, raised his eyes to look at Yingfei, and said in horror, "It turns out to be Lord Demon King, Yi Hen is rude. The heart is also determined, Yang Kai's strength is not good, and now there is a Demon King by his side, so there is really no need to worry about it." Yingfei smiled and waved his hands. "Yang Kai Dao, the auction will be the time when Tu Chongdao sees it. No matter what purpose the black hand behind the scenes has, it is bound to show its fangs, and I will definitely cut it at that time." Yi Hen got up and said solemnly, "Please accept my worship, Mr. Yang. Chen Yizong has no ability to take revenge, if Yang Kai can avenge Chen Yizong, he will be a real benefactor." Yang Kai stretched out his hand, lifted Yi Hen up, shook his head and said, "Sect Master Yi is serious, I can no longer stay out of this matter, let's see who is stronger and who is weaker at the time." After drinking for a while, Yang Kai left and returned to his room. For the next half-month, nothing happened. Sure enough, Zhu Qing seemed to have evaporated from the world, and she stopped harassing herself, which made Yang Kai very satisfied. Although this woman is effervescently beautiful, she looks seductive, and she has a special taste with her, but she is a dragon girl after all, and Yang Kai really doesn't want to provoke her. During this period of time, Liang City has come to a lot of Emperor Senior Realm, and they should all come for the sky puppets of Chen Yizong. After all, every sky puppet is equivalent to an Emperor Senior Realm. It is an excellent choice to buy them back to guard the mountain gate. Perhaps the origin of the stars in Ayu's body is also attractive enough. Yang Kai also checked in Liang City many times, but he didn't find Chiyueu and others' aura, so he had to give up. However, the enemy wasn't so stupid. Naturally, these bargaining chips would not be easily exposed before the auction started. On this day, Liang City, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly became noisy, and the entrance of the Seven Luminaries Chamber of Commerce was even more crowded with people panting for breath. As one of the two top chambers of commerce in the southern region, the Seven Luminaries Chamber of Commerce naturally opened a branch in this Liang City. This time the auction was held in the branch of the Seven Luminaries Chamber of Commerce. All the Emperor Senior Realm powerhouses who received the invitations arrived as scheduled. In front of the Chamber of Commerce, 2 rows of young girls waited respectfully, but when distinguished guests came, one of them greeted them with a smile and led them into the Chamber of Commerce. Looming, it is truly eye-catching. They have undoubtedly undergone professional training, and every smile makes people feel at home, and their soft voice makes people feel good. Li Qingyan, the lord of the Liang sword sect, was also standing outside the Chamber of Commerce, holding the Yushu sword in his arms, standing there with his eyes closed, like a statue, his sword intent restrained. He looked like an ordinary person from the outside, but anyone who knew him knew that he is not easy to mess with. At this moment he is like a long sword in its sheath. Once it is out of the sheath, it will be a powerful sword cultivator, and the killing intent will be overwhelming. Suddenly, Li Qingyan opened his eyes and looked forward. A trace of dread and helplessness flashed in his sword-like eyes. In front of that, a group of 5 people came at a leisurely pace, rushing into a no-man's land. All the guests around were glaring, but after seeing the faces of this group of people, they all changed their expressions and retreated to the side, like avoiding a tiger. There were 5 people in this group. headed by a young man, another man with a sullen complexion and a hooked nose, a pair of young men and women, and a half-old man. It is Yang Kai and others. Going straight to the Chamber of Commerce, Yang Kai glanced at Li Qingyan and grinned. Sect Master Li is also here to welcome guests. What a great deal. The helplessness on Li Qingyan's face became stronger, and the corners of his mouth twitched, revealing a hint of an expression of unknown expression. Ha ha ha, this should be young Master Yang Kai, right? Young Master Yang is here, I am really honored, please come inside. A hearty laugh came from the side, appearing enthusiastic. Yang Kai turned his head and looked, only to see an ordinary-looking middle-aged man walking out from the side, and greeted him with a smile, that smile imprinted in his eyes, making Yang Kai frown. Which one are you? Yang Kai asked, rolling his eyes. It's you, Yi Jinghan and Du Xian whispered, looking at the middle-aged man with apprehension on their faces. Yi Hen's body trembled even more, his eyes spit fire. No, Yang Kai asked in surprise. Yi Jinghan gritted her teeth and said, my Chiba sect's heavenly puppet, he was the one who subdued him. It was also he who was looking for Mrs. Hua. I'm Wu Ming. The middle-aged man smiled slightly, staring at Yang Kai, not paying attention to the three of Chen Yizong. The three ants in the district are indeed not worthy of his attention. Yang Kai's eyes were slightly cold, and he said lightly, it turned out to be a good thing you did. Wu Ming smiled and said, young Master Yang is just joking, what can I do? What are you doing? Before he finished speaking, Wu Ming was startled, because Yang Kai slapped him with a slap, the Emperor Yuan surged, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged. Although there was a small gap between them, Wu Ming was shocked to find that, faced with this blow, he was somewhat unavoidable. He didn't expect Yang Kai to be so daring, he shot at himself as soon as he came up, and he didn't have any defenses at all, and it was too late when he reacted. To be continued. Opening parenthesis closing parenthesis. Chapter 2683 Chess Pieces. What made Wu Ming even more trembling was that the Demon King who had been by Yang Kai's side suddenly made trouble at this moment, and the powerful coercion comparable to the Third Order Emperor Venerable suddenly vented out, and rushed towards him like a mountain. Depress. Wu Ming couldn't move immediately, and the Emperor Yuan in his body couldn't function well. Snappy to A. With a crisp sound, Wu Ming's head was turned to the side after being hit. There was burning pain on his cheek, and the smell of blood was all over his mouth. The many emperors who came to participate in the auction all stared wide-eyed and watched in amazement. That Wu Ming is at the second level of Emperor Senior, and he was slapped in the face under the eyes of everyone. How arrogant is this young man named Yang Kai? Do you really think that with a Demon King behind you, you can be lawless? How dare you? Wu Ming clenched his fists tightly, gritted his teeth and roared at Yang Kai, like an enraged beast. Before he finished speaking, a slap rapidly enlarged in front of his eyes, and slapped hard on his other cheek. With the sound, several teeth flew out. Wu Ming was dizzy for a while, and his head was in a daze. One was angry, and the other was beaten. After all, he is also a strong person at the second level of Emperor Zun, and he is also the deacon of the Star God Palace. He has always been superior to others. Liang City was so humiliated. Under the attack of anger, the whole body of Emperor Yuan was frantically mobilized, and he got rid of the suppression of Yingfei's momentum a little bit, jumped back a few steps suddenly, and shouted loudly, "You are enough. You still dare to bark? Come here." Yang Kai's expression turned violent, and he held his hand. Under the ups and downs of the space law, Wu Ming was horrified to find that his actions were out of control, and he took the initiative to greet Yang Kai. Yang Kai waved his fist and slammed Wu Ming's face fiercely. All of a sudden his face was covered with blood. Before this was over, Yang Kai jumped up again, bent his elbow, and slammed into Wu Ming violently, on the back. The berserk power poured out, Wu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood, and was directly beaten to the ground. He was greeted by a storm of punches and kicks. All the warriors around were dumbfounded, looking at him stupidly. I saw the young man named Yang Kai fighting like a gangster on the street. He pressed Wu Ming to the ground and beat him violently. He wanted to resist, but he was beaten before he could gather his strength. After trying a few times, he seemed to know that he had become a fish on the chopping board. Yang Kai acted recklessly. I have never seen a fight like this in the Emperor Senior realm. Today is an eye-opener. A group of people are amazed and terrified. After a while, Wu Ming was beaten with a bruised nose and swollen face, covered in blood, almost invisible, and thanks to his good cultivation, otherwise he would have died if he had endured Yang Kai's venting. Panting for breath, Yang Kai kicked him a few more times, and then he finished the fight, looked back at Yi Hen and the others, and said, "Do you want to collect some interest?" Yi Hen shook his head with a wry smile, and said, "Young Master Yang can make the decision." He knew that Yang Kai was trying to vent his anger on Chen Yizong. Now that Wu Ming was beaten and crawled on the ground, he had no power to fight back. He could indeed go up and collect some interest, but what is going on with the power of others? Yang Kai nodded slightly, didn't force it, bent down, grabbed Wu Ming's hair and lifted him up, moved his face close to Wu Ming's, and said in a deep voice, "This young master knows, there are people behind you, tell the people behind you, if my friends are missing a hair, I will tear off his bones one by one and drink them in wine." Wu Ming laughed straight away, with a terrifying face, and replied, "That depends on whether you know people or not." Yang Kai stared at him, said lightly, "You really want to die?" Wu Ming's body trembled, and a chill suddenly rushed from the soles of his feet to the top of his head, making his hands and feet cold, and his whole body shivering. He thought that he had a bargaining chip in his hand, and he would definitely let Yang Kai throw a mouse, but he didn't expect this guy to act so recklessly. He wanted to kill himself, really wanted to kill himself. Although the murderous intention was hidden, it still pierced into Wu Ming's heart like a sharp sword, making him silent like a cicada. He had no doubt that if he tried to provoke him again, he would become a dead body the next moment. "I can fulfill you." Yang Kai grinned, "I've always been soft-hearted, if you beg me, I'll give you a happy one right away." Wu Ming was silent, not daring to speak. Yang Kai snorted coldly, and threw him casually, like throwing away a piece of trash. When Wu Ming landed, he saw that Yang Kai had already led a few people behind him into the auction venue. "You little bastard, you wait for me, relying on a demon king to guard you and dare to be so presumptuous to me, today's shame will be repaid 100 times and 1,000 times in the future." It seemed that he had seen Yang Kai begging for mercy on his knees. Wu Ming felt a burst of joy, and sneered, causing those Emperor Senior stage people who came to the auction to look sideways, thinking that Wu Ming would not be fooled, right? The auction venue is designed in the style of a ladder well, with layers spiraling up, enough to accommodate thousands of people without being too crowded. Looking up, there are some ferocious pictures of beasts inscribed on the oval cauldron lid, which makes the entire auction venue see. It looked like a beast with its mouth wide open, devouring all the warriors who came in. Yang Kai and his party, led by a handsome maidservant, walked into a wing room, which seemed to be at the top of the auction venue. Standing in the wing room and looking down, it was quite a sight to see all the mountains at a glance. Taste, everything in the venue was clearly in sight. The servant girl saw Yang Kai displaying his might and violence at the door before, but she was trembling at the moment, she didn't dare to take a breath, and after leading Yang Kai and others in, she turned pale and said, "How many times?" "Customers, wait a moment, the auction is about to start." Even though she was just a small maid, she also felt that the purpose of Yang Kai's trip seemed to be to make trouble, so she ran out of the wing as if fleeing after finishing speaking. The emperors were led into different rooms by the maid servants, and the hall below was gradually filled with people. Although most of the people who came did not have enough financial resources to bid for the auction, the more people who came to the auction, the better. Yang Kai's powerful divine sense unscrupulously swept across the entire auction venue, and the noisy hall below was instantly silent. Feeling the power of this divine sense, how could everyone dare to make noise? Eaglefly is doing the same. After a while, the two withdrew their divine thoughts one after another. "Young Master Yang, did you find anything?" Ying Fei asked. Yang Kai shook his head, sat on the chair and said, "It's hidden very deeply, where is the Demon King?" Ying Fei shrugged his shoulders, saying that he didn't find anything, and frowned, "But since we can be sure that this is a trap, young Master Yang should be careful. The deeper something is hidden, the more dangerous it is." Yang Kai nodded. Yi Jinghen was cooking tea at the side, her movements were skillful, but there was a worried look on her brows. Du Xian and Yi Hen were equally worried. "Master, everything is ready." Wu Ming, whose nose was bruised and face swollen by Yang Kai, appeared here at some point, stood respectfully in front of an old man, and replied. "I don't know what panacea he took. Although there are still some traces of bruises and swollen face, it is obviously much better than before. Only some internal injuries in the body can't be cured so quickly." Whenever Wu Ming urged Di Yuan, there is a dull pain in the internal organs. "That little bastard is too heavy." The old man nodded slightly, and said, "How many emperors have come?" Wu Ming replied, "More than 30. The old man said with satisfaction, "It's enough." After a pause, He waved his hand and said, "Since the guests are all here, let's start." Wu Ming said respectfully, "Yes." Turning his head to look aside, Wu Ming stretched out his hand and said, "Junior sister, please." Hua Qingxi got up slowly, looked at the old man with complicated eyes, and said, "Master, this disciple is retiring. Go." The old man waved his hand. Hua Qingxi walked a few steps, then turned around suddenly, knelt down in front of the old man, and respectfully kowtowed 3 times. The old man's eyes flickered slightly, as if he understood the intention of Hua Qingxi's move, and instead of stopping it, he closed his eyes. Your life is your own, and your path is your own choice. If you want to be an enemy of me, even the master and apprentice will have no affection. Wu Ming stood aside, sneered softly and said, "I don't know how to praise." Hua Qingxi was unmoved, stood up after knocking her head, took a light breath, as if she had unloaded some burden, her body and mind became lighter, and she walked towards the layman. When she passed by Wu Ming, her footsteps paused, opened the mouth and said, "Wu Ming, if you provoke someone you shouldn't, you will die miserably. Eat that bitch." Wu Ming was furious, he slapped Hua Qingxi's face with a slap, and printed a 5 fingerprint on that fair face. Hua Qingxi touched her cheek and said with a smile, "Why, if you were beaten by someone, you have to get it back from me. That's all you have." These words instantly angered Wu Ming, and the scene of being humiliated by Yang Kai before was clearly played back in his mind. As soon as his Emperor Yuan surged, he raised his hand and patted Hua Qingxi's head. Instead of dodging or avoiding, Hua Qingxi stretched out her chest and took the initiative to meet her. "Enough," the old man who had kept his eyes tightly closed said lightly. Wu Ming was startled, his raised hand was fixed in the air, he looked at Hua Qingxi up and down, grinned and said, "Junior sister, you want to take the initiative to seek death. Senior brother, I am not as good as you are a precious pawn." Hua Qingxi gritted her teeth and said, "Despicable." Wu Ming laughed and said, "Whatever you say, anyway, master has promised to reward you to me after this matter is over. Don't worry, senior brother will love you very much." He bit the word love very hard, and his expression was very meaningful. Hua Qingxi's complexion changed suddenly, and she looked towards the old man in disbelief, but found that the old man didn't respond. Knowing that what Wu Ming said was true, her heart ached. She never thought that her master had such an unknown side. Maybe it was because she was too weak in the past, unable to get in touch with too many secrets, and didn't know the old man at all. Everything became clear. "Let's all go, don't make the guests wait too long." The old man waved. "Yes," Wu Ming replied respectfully, glared at Hua Qingxi, and walked towards the layman together with her. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update Group at 87,453,198. Chapter 2684 I Want It. 3 gongs and drums sounded, and the auction officially started. From the backstage, a beautiful woman in palace attire walked out slowly, stood on the round platform, and her beautiful eyes swept across, making many men's eyes shine. Generally speaking, the auctioneers are hosted by men, most of them are old people, and women rarely appear on such occasions, but such a beautiful young woman is very eye-catching, and many people secretly look forward to this auction. Sister Hua, in the wing room at the top, Yang Kai stared at the beautiful woman who came out, and let out a low cry. Master Hua, Yi Hen and the others also had complicated expressions. Hua Qingxi and the others naturally knew each other. They lived in Chenyi sect for a while, and it was after Wu Ming came to find Hua Qingxi that Chenyi sect suffered a catastrophe. Yi Hen and others had speculated before that this matter might have something to do with flowers or related to Qingxi. At this moment, Hua Qingxi suddenly reappeared in the field of vision of several people, and she appeared as the host of the auction, so people couldn't help but think too much about it. There was a breeze beside him, and there was already a figure on the auction stage. Everyone fixed their eyes and found that Yang Kai ran up at some point. Sister Hua, Yang Kai stood in front of her and greeted her with a smile. Yang Kai, Hua Qingxi was stunned for a moment, and then her beautiful eyes burst into surprise. Although she knew that Yang Kai was here, she was still surprised to see him appearing in front of her. Long time no see, how are you? Yang Kai grinned. Hua Qingxi smiled wryly and didn't answer. Suddenly she looked serious and said, "You shouldn't have come here." Yang Kai Dao, "If I don't come, how can I take you away?" Hua Qingxi said, "But you can't leave even if you come." Is this really aimed at me? Yang Kai's expression sank. Hua Qingxi sighed and said, "Do you still remember the Dragon Island order?" Yang Kai frowned and thought for a moment, then suddenly said, of course I remember. In fact, he had long forgotten that if watching C hadn't reminded him, he would never have remembered that there was such a thing in his space ring. Watching C smiled bitterly and said, "When I left the Star God Palace, I was ordered by my master to go to Fengalan City to inquire about the whereabouts of the Dragon Island Order. You also know this. The Dragon Island Order has a lot to do with it, so you can go there with the Order Long Island, make a request that Long Island can meet." Yang Kai nodded slightly, and his long-standing memory gradually became clear. This Dragon Island Order, he still killed a guy named Han Leng and found it from his space ring. It is said that Han Leng is an abandoned disciple of Xingshan Palace, and his relationship with Watching Si can be regarded as a brother and sister. Han Leng stole the Dragon Island token from nowhere and escaped from Xingshan Palace. After dying in the hands of Yang Kai, the Dragon Island token naturally changed hands. Watching Si later tracked down the Order of Longdao and found Yang Kaido, but she was captured instead. The role of the Dragon Island Order was also told by Watching Si to Yang Kai at that time. "The Dragon Island token belongs to my master. My senior brother Wu Ming found me a year ago and brought me back to Xingshan Palace. Although I didn't want to reveal the truth, my master planted a secret technique and couldn't help myself. Later you should know everything about it. I don't know what I told the master, but he must know that the Dragon Island Order is on you, so he will deal with Chen Yizong and capture those people like Chiyu just to force you to show up, body." Yang Kai frowned and said, "So, your master may know my other secrets?" Hua Qingxi's expression darkened, and she said, "I'm sorry." Yang Kai smiled and said, "It doesn't matter if it's not your original intention." Although he has never doubted Hua Qingxi's character, if she was really betrayed, Yang Kai might not be able to let go. At this moment, after listening to Hua Qingxi's explanation, I feel inexplicably relaxed. "Are my friends safe?" Yang Kai asked in a low voice. Hua Qingxi said, "Master didn't hurt them, after all, his purpose is you. Before taking you down, those people are just pawns. Why not yourself? The relationship between master and apprentice for so many years is simply vulnerable in the face of absolute interests." Yang Kai glanced at the place where Hua Qingxi suddenly appeared before, and said, "The space magic circle. Don't be impulsive, they have all been planted with mind-stimulating GU, even if you go to find them, you can't save them." Hua Qingxi slowly shook her head, "One thought of my master can make their lives worse than death." Heart-stimulating GU. Yang Kai's eyes shrank, and he had something like the strange insect sutra in his hand. Yang Kai naturally knew what the heart-stimulating GU was. Insects have a big name, but they are also a good thing for yin people to kill. Just as she was talking, Hua Qingxi suddenly let out a muffled snort, a look of extreme pain appeared on her pretty face, and under that fair face, something seemed to be emerging, swimming in the skin. "Sister Hua, you were also." Yang Kai's face changed slightly. Hua Qingxi resisted the pain and said, "You go, my master has always been cautious, if he is not sure, he will not come to deal with you." Yang Kai's eyes were cold, and he swept in one direction, only to see Wu Ming sneering at him, pinching Zhanju. It seems that the reason why Hua Qingxi is so uncomfortable is because he activated the heart-stimulating GU. "Sister Hua, I will rescue you," Yang Kai said anxiously, then wiped Wu Ming's neck, and then disappeared suddenly. "If he stays any longer, I am afraid that Hua Qingxi will suffer even greater torture, and it is the best choice to retreat now." The intimate communication between the two on the high platform has long been seen by many warriors, and everyone is amazed, and they don't know what relationship Yang Kai has with that Hua Qingxi. After Yang Kai left, Wu Ming did not torture Hua Qingxi anymore. After all, she still needs to host this auction. The heart-stimulating GU that was wandering under Hua Qingxi's skin gradually disappeared, and the unbearable pain gradually subsided, but Hua Qingxi was already sweating profusely, raised her head, and said expressionlessly, "The auction is now to begin. The first auction item, Chenyi Zongtian Puppet Xiaoyu Sirius, has a reserve price of 1 million high-grade source crystals." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was in an uproar. Although it has been known for a long time that there will be many sky puppets from Chenyizong in this auction, but I did not expect that the first one will appear. This is not unusual. Generally speaking, the value of the auction items that appear in the auction is from low to high. Only in this way can people's competitive psychology be mobilized, and people will get lost in the hot fighting atmosphere and raise their hearts unconsciously. High price. Such a thing as the sky puppet is enough to be the final auction item, and it is a bit unreasonable to actually take out the first item. But remembering that there is more than one sky puppet in Zhenwu, maybe this first one is just for throwing bricks and attracting jade, many warriors feel relieved. The value of 1 million high-grade source crystals is not insignificant. After conversion, there are 100 million middle-grade source crystals and 10 billion low-grade source crystals. Ordinary warriors simply cannot participate in it. But compared with a sky puppet whose strength is comparable to that of Emperor Senior Realm, this 1 million top-grade source crystals is also worth the money. Buying it back is equivalent to buying an Emperor Senior Realm, and it is the kind that is driven at will. There are a lot of Emperor Senior Realm people who come here to participate in the auction, so they are naturally ready for it. At this moment, when they heard the reserve price, everyone was gearing up and ready to do some shopping. I want 1 million, and I hope you will save face. A shout came suddenly, almost following Hua Qingxi's voice. When everyone heard this, they all pursed their lips, with little disdain in their hearts. Who does this person think he is, who wants to take away a sky puppet at a low price with just one word? If he has such a big face, what will he do with the auction? Looking along the voice, many people's expressions changed. Because they discovered that it was not someone else who said this, but the arrogant and defiant Yang Kai. The bidding sound that reached his mouth was swallowed instantly. When Yang Kai first came to Liang City, he led people to kill many disciples of Liang Sword Sect, but now Liang Sword Sect Master Li Qingyan has no intention of revenge, instead he took the initiative to kill Chenyi Sect Master not long ago. I sent it back. It's just that, he beat Wu Ming at the entrance of the auction venue earlier. Just this courage is enough for people to wait for a while, not to mention the rumor that he is accompanied by a demon king. This face, I really can't help it. The entire auction venue fell into an eerie silence. Martial artists who knew Yang Kai's ferocity were unwilling to form an enmity with him easily, and people who didn't know the truth also noticed the strange atmosphere, and had some vague guesses, so naturally they didn't dare to be this early bird. Ever since, after Yang Kai finished that sentence, no one bid anymore. Hua Qingxi looked around, and said bluntly, in this case, the first piece of sky puppet belongs to the friend in room 1. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words, thinking that this auctioneer is also a weirdo, who doesn't follow the rules. Generally speaking, the auctioneer naturally wants to drive up the price at this time, and asks if there are any bids. It is best to match some exaggerated expressions, and if there is no incitement in the tone, it will take 3 countdowns before the transaction is considered, but when it comes to this young woman, it is a final decision without even asking. But thinking of the intimate communication between Yang Kai and her before, everyone secretly felt that she should have known Yang Kai, that's why she was so straightforward. What is this? Is this still an auction? It is not the first time for Emperor Senior Stage to participate in the auction, but it is the first time to see such an auction. From when Hua Qingxi spoke to the end of the auction, there was only 5 breaths of time before and after. At this time, a maid came out from behind with a tray in her hand. Before she had time to show the puppet in front of everyone, the auction was over. The maid didn't seem to have recovered, but she still walked straight towards room 1 with the tray in her hand. When we got to the front of the room, the door opened automatically, and the maid stood at the door and said, "Guest, this is your auction item, please pay 1 million high-grade source crystals." To be continued. To read the latest chapters of this book, please go to 999W, and to read simultaneously on your mobile phone, please visit sj.999W, refreshing and free of advertisements. Please remember our latest website 999W, Chapter 2685 Insatiable Greed. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to take a picture, grabbed the tray in his hand, lifted the red cloth covering it and took a look, and found a puppet about 1 foot tall on the tray, in the shape of a wolf. Is something right? Yang Kai turned to look at Yi Hen and asked. Yi Hen said excitedly, "It's the sky puppet Xiaoyu Sirius of my Chenyi sect." Things were lost and found again. Yi Hen almost burst into tears. Yang Kai nodded slightly, and threw the heavenly puppet to Yi Hen, saying, "Put it away." He was also a little surprised in his heart. He had also seen the prototypes of these sky puppets back then. Each one was as big as a mountain, guarding various key positions of Zhenwu, but he didn't expect to be able to shrink to such a degree. Zhenwu's way of puppet is really extraordinary. Yi Hen was stunned, and said, "But this is your auction item, Mr. Yang, you deserve it. After all, this is 1 million high-grade source crystals, and the value is huge, so Yi Hen has the nerve to take it for nothing." Yang Kai smiled and said, This thing can only play its greatest role in your hands, hold it, there may be a fierce battle later. The puppets of the Chenny sect are refined and driven by secret techniques. They come from the same line. Even if other people can get it, they will not be able to exert their full power. Only warriors who have practiced the corresponding secret techniques can dig out the maximum value of these puppets. Hearing what Yang Kai said, Yi Hen's heart trembled, and he silently put away the heavenly puppet. But the maid's heart trembled, feeling uneasy for no reason, forced a smile, looked at Yang Kai and said, "Guest, the auction item has been sent to you, please pay the source crystal." Yang Kai waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, I still have something to bid for, and I will pay for it when the auction is over, so as to avoid trouble." Ah, the servant girl frowned and looked at Yang Kai pleadingly, but we don't have such rules, and the servant girl can't be the master. Yang Kai glanced at her lightly, and said, "Since you can't make the decision, ask someone who can make the decision." After being swept away by his eyes, the maidservant immediately shivered, not daring to say anything more, apologizing, and hastily went to report. At this moment, another maid came up on the high platform holding a tray, and watching Si yelled expressionlessly, "The second auction item, Chenny Zongtian Puppet 100-legged silver spider, has a reserve price of 1 million high-grade source crystals." After finishing speaking, "Stand there quietly." Yang Kai immediately said, "I want 1 million, and I hope you will give me some face." As soon as the words came out, the audience was in an uproar, and those Emperor Senior Realm gnashed their teeth in hatred. When the first auction item Xiaoyu Sirius came out, Yang Kai said this, "Those Emperor Senior Realm did give him this face, no one competed with him or anything, but when the second auction item came out, he to actually say this sentence, it seems a bit greedy and ignorant." But thinking of the Demon King behind Yang Kai and his lawless actions, most of the Emperor Senior stages still chose to remain silent. Instead of being an early bird, some Emperor Senior stages who didn't know his details started to sneer in their private rooms, but he didn't ask for a price increase. Although the voices of those people were low, there were indeed quite a few Emperor Senior Realm present, all of them had sharp ears and eyes, and they couldn't hear them anywhere. Originally, I was a little worried that Yang Kai would violently hurt others, but unexpectedly, the wing room where Yang Kai was located was quiet, and there was no special reaction. And at this time, the maid who sent Yang Kai to Xiaoyu Sirius also found Wu Ming, and carefully told what happened before. Wu Ming was furious when he heard that. He gritted his teeth and cursed, "You bastard, you want to eat for free." 1 million high-grade source crystals is a lot of money for him, but looking at what Yang Kai meant, he clearly didn't want to pay, so he just found an excuse to send the maid away. Wu Ming believed that even if the auction ended, Yang Kai would not pay a source crystal. Such an approach is simply the behavior of a villain, and it is shameless. "My lord, what should we do now?" The maid was also panicked, and told people to buy things for nothing at her own auction. Rumors spread that the Qiao Chamber of Commerce would not have any credibility to speak of, but she was just a maidservant of a Chamber of Commerce. No right to make any decisions. Wu Ming's eyes flickered for a while, and he snorted coldly, "It's okay, just leave him alone. Anyway, Yang Kai is dead today, no matter how many good things there are in the space ring, they will become spoils of war at that time. Don't you want to eat free food, and then we will catch you all and see who is the best." The maid was startled and said, "But he started bidding again, what should we do if he wins the auction again later?" Wu Ming waved his hand and said, "Send them all to him." Ah, the maid turned pale with fright, as if she didn't expect Wu Ming to give such an answer, but before today's auction started, these maids had already been notified that everything must obey Wu Ming's dispatch, so I didn't dare to refute anything, but I felt weird in my heart. What is the meaning of today's auction? Wu Ming sneered softly, glanced at the private room where Yang Kai was, thinking in his heart that he would make you proud for a while, and when the master arranges it thoroughly, he will tell you to die without a place to die. The entire auction is not only a means to attract Yang Kai, but also a strategy to delay time. While the auction is held, Master is already secretly preparing for it. When he stays here and sets up a net, no one can escape from here. As expected, no one bid for the second auction item, and soon another maid sent it to Yang Kai's private room. It seemed that she had been instructed. This time the maid was very sensible and didn't ask Yang Kai for any source crystals. She delivered the things and then retreated respectfully. Yang Kai casually threw it to Yi Hen. Yi Jinghen and Du Xian watched secretly excitedly, thinking that this trip should be able to take back all the celestial puppets of Chen Yizong. If so, then Chen Yizong may not be able to make a comeback. brought into the Emperor Sky Valley by them. If they take back these celestial puppets and recruit more disciples in the future, Chenny Zongding will still have a day to regain his glory. The third auction item. On the high platform, watching C still fulfilled her task as an auctioneer with a dull expression. But before she finished speaking, Yang Kai shouted, "I want 1 million. Don't think about it, it must be a puppet again." Chenny Zong originally had 10 celestial puppets, but after Lu Yan took away one white tiger, there were only 9 left. It took a lot of time to photograph each one. Immediately, an old voice came from room number 7, mixed with strong dissatisfaction and indignation. "My friend, do you want me to wait to save you?" Yang Kai grinned and said, "If it can be like this, it is naturally good." The old man in room number 7 snorted coldly and said, "Face is something that is fought for, not given by others." "That's right, everything can be won or two." Immediately, someone echoed, and the voice seemed to come from room 13, "Since it's an auction, the rich will get it. My friend, is this, Ida too much to ignore me? Eh? Boy, you should be satisfied with the 2 celestial puppets, and don't participate in the rest." "That's good, that's right. I've come all the way here because these days, if you want to make a round by yourself, be careful that your appetite will burst your stomach. If someone stands out, someone will naturally follow suit." They didn't know Yang Kai's details before, so everyone stood still and let Yang Kai pick up 2 big bargains in vain. However, when everyone criticized in private just now, they saw that Yang Kai didn't respond. The boys seemed to be nothing special, and all of them became more courageous, and began to speak mockingly to persuade them. Everyone wants good things. Looking at Yang Kai's posture, if he and others don't speak again, he will really give this auction away. How can this kind of thing be tolerated? It is already a big face for you to take away 2 sky puppets at a low price, so you should be content. Many people secretly regretted it. If they had known that this kid was nothing special but just pretending, they would have already started bidding. Generally speaking, the prices of the first few auction items are relatively low, and the prices will be driven up later, higher. Only those Emperor Senior Realms who knew that Yang Kai was following a demon king, and saw Yang Kai beating Wu Ming's Emperor Senior Realm, kept silent, sneered deep in their hearts, and felt that these Emperor Senior Realm were afraid that a catastrophe was imminent. Yang Kai dared to beat Wu Ming into a human form at the entrance of the auction. It can be seen that he is acting recklessly and recklessly. At this moment, provoking him is not asking for trouble. There are not many emperors present who compete in martial arts. Ming is even better. The so-called matter has nothing to do with oneself, and they are all secretly looking forward to the debut of the good show. But what surprised them was that Yang Kai didn't intend to fight those people, but he was silent for a while and said, "Since you don't give face, then everyone will bid for the auction. Why are you talking so much?" As soon as this remark came out, many people were shocked, wondering what happened to this kid. Did he change his temper? It shouldn't be. Could it be that he has scruples because of the large number of people? After all, public anger is hard to offend. It doesn't matter if he hits Wu Ming, but if he continues to mess around and ask others to give him face, I'm afraid he will offend all the emperors present. If this happened, he would be no match for 4 hands. Thinking of this, those Emperor Senior Realms who have been silent all this time can't help cheering up. Their hearts are about to move, and they feel that it's time to participate in the auction. Without Yang Kai, the biggest obstacle, they don't need to be afraid of anyone, they just look at who has strong financial resources, and whoever can shoot the sky. As soon as the idea came to light, many Emperor Seniors sat up straight and ready to go shopping. The old man in room number 7 smiled slightly, leaning on the old and selling the old way. Children can be taught, this is the atmosphere that the auction should have. If this is the case, the old man will throw bricks and attract jade. 1.1 million. 1.2 million. 1,500,000. 2 million. One after another shouts came from all directions immediately, and the emperors in the private rooms all took action. In less than 10 breaths of time, the sky puppet with a base price of 1 million high-grade source crystals climbed to 3 million. And this is far from over. Chapter 2686 Random Quotation. Phone reading. 10 million. A sudden voice sounded. 8%. The noisy auction hall fell silent in an instant, and countless people turned their heads to look at room 1, the corners of their eyes twitching endlessly. They naturally heard that the voice that quoted 10 million was Yang Kai, and they were filled with hatred in their hearts. This price increase is too terrifying. It has been raised directly from 3 million to 10 million, which is almost tripled. Such a price gap is shocking even for emperors like them. But then again, the value of a sky puppet is indeed worth so much. Although 10 million high-grade source crystals is not cheap, it is worth it if you can buy a sky puppet back. Decisive enough to quote a high price directly to deter most competitors who want to take advantage of opportunism. Well, the auction is a place for fighting wits and courage. If you can't bear the new offer, you have to abstain. Damn it, Wu Ming cursed bitterly while hiding behind the high platform. Others thought that Yang Kai was generous and determined to win the heavenly puppet, but he knew Yang Kai's plan. To Yang Kai, the price of this auction was just a number, and he never thought about paying Yuan Jing, let alone a 10 million, 100 million, he may be able to report it. Thinking of this, Wu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and his forehead was dripping with cold sweat. This kid, will he really report 100 million later? What a great handwriting, kid. The old man in room number 7 shouted loudly, with a little anger in his voice, secretly hating Yang Kai for not knowing the rules. How could he drive up the price like this at the auction, and the bidders would kill each other in the end? The cheapest one could only be the sponsor. If Yang Kai hadn't bid for 2 heavenly puppets before, he would have suspected that Yang Kai was a trustee. 10 million high-grade source crystals want to buy a sky puppet. Boy, your abacus is good. It's a pity that I met this old man. The old man in room 7 sneered, and re-quoted, 11 million. This price is almost close to his psychological bottom line, but Yang Kai's approach is too rampant, he can't swallow this breath, and secretly decides to fight him to the end. Let him know what ginger is old and spicy. 100 million. Yang Kai sat on the chair, propped his cheeks with his hands, and took a sip from the teacup. PFF'd. Yi Jinghen couldn't help but almost laughed out loud. Up to now, she still can't see Yang Kai's plan. This auction will be a joke to Yang Kai. 10 million, 100 million, billion or even 10 billion are no different to him. Anyway, it is just a casually reported number, and it will not be honored at all. Yi Hen and Du Xian also had strange expressions, and secretly wiped the sweat from their foreheads. Backstage, Wu Ming's face was dark, thinking that he would come here for whatever he was afraid of. This kid really shouted out a price of 100 million. On the contrary, in the various private rooms outside, there was a continuous sound of gasping, and countless eyes gathered in the hall towards room 1. Everyone was dumbfounded and looked shocked. Did I hear you right? 100 million. Low-grade source crystals or high-grade source crystals? Dream, I must be dreaming. This kid is crazy. Can't you spend more source crystals? If you can't finish the flowers, give me some. Why do you have to be taken advantage of? Young master, I am willing to serve you. My breasts are big, soft and white. ... In the hall, there was an uproar. They were all shocked by Yang Kai's quotation of 100 million yuan. That quotation was like a thunderous thunder, which made them dizzy and dazed. You. In private room number 7, the old man was stunned for a moment and then flew into a rage. He slapped the chair under him loudly, and said, "Boy, you are too deceitful." Yang Kai pursed his lips, glanced at the number 7 private room lightly, and said, "Auction, the rich will get it. How can I deceive people too much? It's unreasonable for you to quote indiscriminately." He didn't believe that Yang Kai was really willing to spend 100 million high-grade source crystals to buy a sky puppet. Even sects may not be able to produce so many source crystals. Yang Kai snorted. Don't play if you can't afford it. It's better to find a place to live for the rest of your life when you're a lot older. Why run out and make a fool of yourself? I'm so angry. The old man in room 7 was so angry that he turned his head to watching C on the stage and said, "Madam, does the auction allow this person to mess around and make random quotations? Is there no one to maintain order? This is a branch of the 7 Luminaries Chamber of Commerce. Everyone can trust the reputation of the 7 Luminaries Chamber of Commerce." The old man thought that watching C was a member of the 7 Luminaries Chamber of Commerce, so he asked this question. Watching C glanced at room number 7 lightly, and said, "His quotation is his business. I didn't see any nonsense from him, but you have been chattering all the time." The old man was taken aback, and then he remembered that the boy in room number 1 seemed to be very familiar with this auctioneer, and the two of them had been whispering on stage for a while before the auction started. At this time, it is natural to help that kid to speak. How can he pay attention to him, an outsider? It's really a nest of snakes and rats, working together. The old man flicked his sleeves, feeling extremely disappointed with the Kiao Chamber of Commerce in his heart, but said to himself, the old man doesn't believe that he can come up with 100 million high-grade source crystals. He is definitely quoting indiscriminately. If anyone can take out 100 million high-grade source crystals, it is not a high-grade source crystal. The old man almost emptied his entire sect, only to bring less than 20 million high-grade source crystals here. Yang Kai is young and his cultivation is only at the first level of Emperor Senior, so how can he have such a large amount of money? Old Joe is right, this kid is here to make trouble, kick him out. Immediately someone yelled, it was the Emperor Prestige Realm in room 13. Get out, this kind of person shouldn't let him participate in the auction, and let him pick up 2 big bargains. What the hell is going on with the Qiao Chamber of Commerce? For a time, the crowd was excited, and they all clamored to expel Yang Kai from the auction. The main reason is that the quotation of 100 million is too scary. This is the 3rd auction item. There are more sky puppets in the back. It is rumored that there is also a Star Master. If he raises the price like this every time and bids randomly, can you beat him? Even if it's for his own benefit, he can't let this kid stay any longer. 20 or 30 Emperor Senior Realm yelled together, and the repressed emperors came from all the private rooms, as if they were about to fight, which scared the warriors in the hall to turn pale. Standing on the high platform, watching C was also frowning. If 1 or 2 people said that, she didn't have to take it seriously. Anyway, this auction is just a cover, but now that so many emperors are attacking together, she doesn't know what to do well. If it is not handled well, it will bring big trouble to Yang Kai. Wu Ming stood in the background, grinning ferociously, secretly pleased. He didn't intend to stop him at all. He wished that Yang Kai's hatred would be as much as possible, so that it would be convenient for the next plan. Shut up, master. In room No. 1, Yang Kai pulled out his ears and let out a low shout. The noise from all directions made his brain ache. Boy, you still dare to call. The old man in room 7 seemed to have just gotten on with Yang Kai, and now he was in the ascendant, and he didn't take Yang Kai into his eyes, and said sharply, if you are sensible, just get out of here. I will teach you how to be a good person. As soon as the voice fell, his eyes blurred, and a figure appeared strangely above the auction hall. It was Yang Kai. You, what are you doing? Even though he was hiding in the number 7 private room, the old man was shocked. How did Yang Kai appear just now? He didn't notice it. From those eyes, the barriers of the walls and formations seemed to be nothing, directly piercing people's hearts. Yang Kai looked at room number 7 indifferently, then glanced around, and said unhurriedly, you bunch of scum. Saying that this young master bids indiscriminately, is nothing more than thinking that this young master can't come up with 100 million high-grade source crystals. At least I have to ask you, what if I take it out? Presumptuous. Furious. It really pissed me off. Li Zi is so rude. The Emperor Senior Realm who came here, although their cultivation bases are not superlative, but all of them are the mainstay of those sect forces, and each status is not low, and now they are called scum by Yang Kai, which immediately provoked the anger of the crowd. If you take it out, I will eat 3 caddies of shit. A voice was erratic, and it was unknown which private room it came from. It was obviously just shouting indiscriminately, not wanting to reveal his position. Yang Kai precisely locked the number 13 private room, and said in astonishment, this friend, the taste is so strong, I admire it. In private room number 13, a middle-aged man's face turned pale. He didn't expect that he couldn't hide his position even though he used secret techniques, and he was pulled out by Yang Kai. I'm dying of regret in my heart. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have yelled this. The main reason was that Yang Kai was too unpleasant for him to see, and he instinctively wanted to disgust him. The others also looked towards private room number 13, with different expressions. Okay, Your Excellency is so ambitious, I will definitely satisfy you once. Yang Kai stroked his palm, then turned his head to look at private room number 7, and said, old man, what about you? It's just you. The old man sneered disdainfully. Apparently he didn't think Yang Kai could really come up with so many source crystals. So what about me? Don't talk nicely, get something practical. Yang Kai snorted. He came here to rescue Qiyu and others, and to take back the sky puppet of Chen Yizong, but there are still people who dare to obstruct them, so naturally they are not polite. The old man said, if you can take it out, the old man will twist the head off and kick it for you. The boy is only a first-level emperor. Even if he can really take out 100 million top-grade source crystals, he will not be afraid at all. At worst, I will have a show with him at that time, let him know what is beyond the sky, and there are people above people. Very good. Yang Kai grinned grinningly, I don't want your head. While speaking, he turned around and flew towards the high platform where Watching Sea was. After landing, he looked around and shouted, "Keep your dog eyes open to see clearly, is this young master making random quotations?" After saying that, he waved his hand, and a hill of source crystals appeared on the high platform in an instant. Each source crystal exuded a white light, and an astonishing aura burst out, making the entire auction venue full of aura. To be continued. Tags. The latest chapter of Marshall Peak, the updated list of Marshall Peak, Marshall Peak. Chapter 2687. Don't cry if you don't see the coffin. Phone reading. Wow. All the warriors in the hall were in an uproar, staring at the high platform with wide-eyed eyes. Even the emperors who were hiding in the private rooms stretched their necks involuntarily at this moment, looking at the breathtaking sight on the high platform in amazement. The scenery is full of blood. Pinshu.com www.vodtw.com. Visit. There are so many source crystals, I have never seen so many source crystals in my life. It's all high-grade source crystals, really top-grade source crystals. Such a large pile, at least over 100 million. My lord, I want to give birth to a child for you, look at my family, look at my family. The warriors sitting in the hall are crazy, their cultivation base is not high, and the cultivation resources they have accessed are limited. When have they seen so many source crystals, and all of them are high-grade source crystals? Such a huge amount of wealth is enough to shock their hearts. If such a sum of wealth falls into his own hands, not to mention that he will not have to worry about his cultivation in this lifetime, it will be his descendants, and he will not need to worry about cultivation resources for 100 generations. Gudong. The sound of swallowing saliva came out from the private rooms, and many emperors were full of covetousness and greed while they couldn't believe it. Not to mention that the warriors in the hall have never seen so many source crystals, even those of them have never seen it before, and they all feel that it is an eye-opener. There are really so many high-grade source crystals. The corners of the old man's eyes twitched in room number 7. He was shocked and felt a little bit shocked and uneasy. Before he was angry and let the big talk go out, now he suddenly felt that there was something wrong with his neck. The ice was cold, and I subconsciously touched it. But soon, he sneered. Even if this kid really took out 100 million top-grade source crystals, so what, he is also at the first level of Emperor Senior, and he has been promoted for many years, can he still be an opponent as a young man? If he is sensible, it is nothing more than turning big things into small things, and small things into small things. If he dares to pester him endlessly, maybe he has to be taught a lesson. Moreover, this kid has long been outraged by the public, and now he doesn't understand the truth that money should not be revealed. If you want to show off your wealth wantonly, if you really want to make a move here, I am afraid that you will not be able to tolerate him alone, at least. The friends in private room number 13 will definitely help. Thinking of this, the old man was relieved. And on the high platform, Yang Kai waved his hand again, and another pile of high-grade source crystals suddenly appeared, only a lot more than the previous pile. Hissa-a! There was a sound of gasping for air. Everyone looked petrified, looking at the source crystal on the high platform stupidly. The light shining from the top-grade source crystal dazzled people's eyes, and made people want to move. This is not over yet, followed by the third pile, the fourth pile. But in a short time, the entire high platform was almost filled with high-grade source crystals, and the aura that diffused was almost condensed into substance, which made every martial artist who was in the auction feel refreshed and happy. It's like becoming a fairy. Ah, my bottleneck is loose, I'm going to break through. Someone suddenly shouted, with a look of surprise on his face. Before the words fell, a burst of aura exploded and spread, and someone made a breakthrough before him. Boom boom boom, auras of different strengths and weaknesses erupted in the auction hall, and no less than 100 warriors broke through their shackles and reached a new realm in this rich aura of heaven and earth. Those warriors who did not make a breakthrough were also full of joy, and they performed their exercises one after another to absorb the aura of heaven and earth floating around. These people, the cultivation base is not high, there are not very good cultivation resources, and the places for retreat and cultivation that he usually chooses are not good places. At this moment, Yang Kai took out hundreds of millions of high-grade source crystals, and the cultivation environment he created was comparable to the forbidden cultivation areas of those big sects. It is also a matter of course to allow them to go one step further before the bottleneck. Good man, someone yelled, crying bitterly. This person was stuck in the second-level Holy King realm for 30 years. I thought that I would not be able to make further progress in my life, but I didn't expect to encounter such a good thing just to participate in an auction. Benefactor, please accept my obeisance. Someone also stood up and bowed to Yang Kai, who was standing on the high platform, with a pious attitude. More people stood up to say thanks. Yang Kai watched with a smile, but he didn't stop those people from devouring the spiritual energy in his origin crystal. He made a fortune in the wild and ancient land, and wiped out the treasury of Wen Qingzong. He has countless wealth in his hands. The top-grade source crystal alone has more than 1 billion yuan. But 9 cows and 1 hare, nothing more. To put it bluntly, the current him, if he casually plucks out the legs and hairs, it is enough for these warriors to fight for several lifetimes. Backstage, Wu Ming stared at those high-grade source crystals, swallowed hard, and a thought kept popping up in his mind, mine is mine. He also didn't expect that Yang Kai's net worth was so strong. Hundreds of millions of high-grade source crystals were taken out casually, so it can be seen that there are more good things in his space ring. As long as he is taken down and killed, wouldn't all these wealth be his own? No, it belongs to the master, but it doesn't matter if the master eats meat, and you drink some soup, right? Thinking of this, Wu Ming was deeply excited. AAX79novels.com. This is really a windfall. Wu Ming was so excited that he almost looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. You rubbish, have you seen it clearly? Is this young man bidding indiscriminately? Yang Kai looked around, his tone cold. No one spoke. Hearing is believing, seeing is believing. Yang Kai took out so many source crystals casually, which has proved that he has enough financial resources. How can he be slandered by a random bid? While speaking, Yang Kai took back those high-grade source crystals. The rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth was cut off in an instant, making all the warriors in the hall show resentful expressions. But the things belonged to someone else, and the other party was still in the Emperor Senior stage, so it was a great grace to be able to open the eyes of these people. They couldn't expect Yang Kai to keep those source crystals there for them to cultivate. For a while, many sighs sounded. It's fine if you don't have an opinion. Yang Kai grinned, turned around and looked at room number 7 and said, Old man, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. What kind of promise? Bullshit, doesn't make sense. The old man in room 7 shouted angrily. Do you dare not admit it? Yang Kai's face turned grim. Which old bastard just said that as long as I can take out 100 million source crystals, he will twist his head off and give it to me as a ball. How dare you play it in public? Go back on your word. You still have to be shameless. The old man snorted coldly. Can jokes be taken seriously? Yang Kai said in a deep voice. The old thing is really shameless. I count to 3, if you don't screw your head off, don't blame this young master for attacking you personally. You dare, Junior. The old man was furious. He didn't expect Yang Kai to be so shameless. After all, everyone is at the first level of Emperor Senior. Although he did say something angry before, anyone could tell that it was not sincere. Really want to fulfill it? 1. Yang Kai ignored him and counted. Boy, don't bully me too much. This old man is the master of King Kong's Gate. Do you want to be an enemy of King Kong's Gate? Seeing Yang Kai's recalcitrant look, the old man quickly revealed his identity. I want Yang Kai to be afraid. 2. Yang Kai was unmoved, and a word popped out of his mouth coldly. What the hell is the King Kong Gate? He even destroyed the Wenqing sect, so he is still afraid of a King Kong Gate. The old man's face panicked. He didn't expect Yang Kai to play for real. Is this kid crazy? At any rate, I am comparable to his cultivation base. If there is no deep hatred, is it necessary to make such a fuss? But he didn't know that Yang Kai didn't notice a mere Emperor Senior realm, or a mere Sky Gate. If he is a third-layer Emperor Senior, Yang Kai might have to think about it. The old man gritted his teeth, and suddenly turned his eyes to the direction of room 13. His spiritual sense locked on the Emperor Prestige realm there, and he said via voice transmission, My friend, this kid is crazy. Why don't you and I join hands to take him down, or else we will be killed in the future. His temper will definitely not let you go after dealing with the old man. It is better to strike first. The two of us will add up to 500 million source crystals. The Emperor Senior realm in room 13 also had a gloomy face, because Yang Kai was too domineering, and he also knew that what the old man said was right. What he said before was just disgusting, that's all Yang Kai's, and he deliberately hid the location, but he was found out by Yang Kai. Just worried that Yang Kai would also want him to fulfill his promise, the old man came over via sound transmission. Being stimulated by those hundreds of millions of source crystals, he nodded and replied without thinking, okay. The old man was overjoyed, thinking that you were looking for death yourself, boy, but you can't blame the old man. Reads 3. After Yang Kai finished shouting, he stared coldly at room number 7, nodded and said, very good, it seems that you will not cry when you see the coffin. Since this is the case, I will fulfill you. While speaking, he rushed to room number 7 alone, in the midair, and punched the private room fiercely. Boom! There was a loud noise, and a light curtain restrained Zhou Shiren from room number 7, and the light flickered above the restraint, blocking Yang Kai's punch. The private rooms in the auction are guarded by restraint formations, mainly to protect the privacy and safety of the guests. The restraints and formations in the private rooms in the top auction venues are enough to guard against those who are strong in the third layer of Emperor Zun detection and attack. Although Liang City is not a small city, it is not a big city either. The restraining formation of the branch of the Seven Luminaries Chamber of Commerce can defend against the attacks of the General Emperor's first level or even the second level. If Emperor Zun's third layer attack is made, he will never be able to guard against it. However, there are not many strong people of this level, and they are not seen in ordinary circumstances. Even if they appear, they are all noble people, and they will not do such rude things. Ha ha ha! Seeing Yang Kai deflated, the door master of the sky door in room 7 laughed loudly and said, boy, just because you want to trouble the old man, you should go home and practice, what? In the middle of his speech, he suddenly yelled, as if he had seen something that shocked him. And when everyone looked around, their eyelids were twitching, and their faces were full of disbelief. I saw a tiny crack suddenly appeared in the forbidden light curtain blocking in front of room No. 7. Tags. The latest chapter of Martial Peak, the updated list of Martial Peak, Martial Peak. Chapter 2688. Thank you. Phone reading. Kachacha. A slight sound came, which made people's hearts jump, and the old man hiding in room 7 turned pale. His eyes widened, and he couldn't believe that Yang Kai had such a strong power. A single punch will open a crack in the restraining formation, if there are a few more punches. Asterisk Qiyao Chamber of Commerce, what kind of bullshit formation is arranged? It is nothing, the old man cursed in his heart. Just when he was shocked, Yang Kai suddenly flipped his hands over, and sacrificed 1,000,000 swords, the sword body shook, and the sword light pierced the sky, slashing forward fiercely. Boom-a-a! The power of a sword seems to be able to shatter the sky, turning the universe upside down, and the Emperor Senior stage and many private rooms all looked at it with a shudder, realizing the strength of Yang Kai. And the forbidden light curtain that had already opened a gap was shattered under this sword, turning into dots of fluorescent light and disappearing. The entire number 7 private room was suddenly exposed to an undefended state. Yang Kai swept away with his sword again, breaking open the room, and an old man with a pale complexion and horrified eyes was staring forward with his eyes wide open. Yang Kai's figure flickered, and he rushed into room number 7, put the broad knife-like million sword on his shoulder, pointed his hand forward, and said with arrogance, "Old man, bring the head." Tang 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 tang. The old man backed away in horror, gritted his teeth and shouted, "Friend, if you don't make a move at this time, when will you wait?" The words fell, and as soon as Emperor Yuan was urged, he rushed towards Yang Kai, and at the same time his hands were clawed, and a phantom of an eagle behind his back flashed away, bursting out with claw shadows all over the sky. The offensive was fierce, as if to tear Yang open. Although the old man saw that Yang Kai was not easy to mess with, but his own strength was at the level of Emperor Senior, and he got the support of the number 13 private room, so he was not too afraid of Yang Kai. This action was merciless. Obviously it is going to Yang Kai's death. But when he jumped not far in front of Yang Kai, a big foot suddenly kicked towards him, and the strong Emperor Yuan surged on the big foot. The claw shadow broke through cleanly and kicked him in the face with incomparable precision. The old man instinctively wanted to hide. But he was shocked to find that the space around him was frozen, making him unable to move at all. With a sound of bumping, the old man flew out, hit the wall behind him, and slid down limply. Stars appeared in front of his eyes, he felt dizzy, and felt like his nose had collapsed. Opening his eyes again, he saw a wide long sword pointing at his neck. Feeling cold to the touch, Yang Kai stood in front of him with a sneer on his face, a look of disdain. The old man was shocked. He didn't expect that he was also at the first level of Emperor Zun, and he didn't even catch the other parties face to face, and he was crawled off in a daze. Is this fucking Emperor Senior realm? There were bursts of gasping sounds from all the private rooms around, and they were somewhat incomprehensible to the scene in front of them. They saw clearly the battle just now. It was nothing more than Yang Kai blasting through the restraining formation. Then he confronted the master of the Kangkong sect head-on, but he didn't know what happened. The master of the Kangkong sect was kicked to the ground, and his life was even more restrained at this moment. All of this is too wonderful. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they might not believe that such a thing would exist in the world. The head of the Kangkong sect is at the Emperor Senior level anyway. How could he be so vulnerable in front of an opponent of the same cultivation level? Is there any help? Yang Kai sneered. Intentionally or unintentionally, he glanced at room 13. At the door of room 13, the gate was wide open, and a middle-aged man stood in the room, assuming he was about to rush out, but his posture was extremely stiff. As if frozen in place. In front of him, Ying Fei folded his arms and leaned against the door frame, staring at him with a pair of eagle-like eyes smiling. There was no hostility, no aura, and he couldn't even detect the other party's cultivation, but it was such a person that made the middle-aged man in private room number 13 chill all over, freeze in place, and sweat dripped from his forehead. Inexplicably, he felt that the other party had the ability to kill him at will, so even though he heard the call of the master of the Kangkong sect, he couldn't take a step. Go back, young Master Yang will come to visit you later. Ying Fei looked at the middle-aged man and waved his hand gently. The middle-aged man swallowed his saliva, closed the door gently, and then retreated, slumped down on the chair, shaking like chaff. In room No. 7, Yang Kai grinned at the head of the Kangkong sect and said, "It looks like you have been abandoned." Of course he knew what happened to the Emperor Prestige realm in room 13. With Ying Fei guarding the door, it was difficult for that person to fly even with wings, let alone come to help. But the head of the Kangkong sect was ashamed in an instant when he heard it. He thought that he was in the same realm as Yang Kai, so he didn't need to be too afraid, and he had the support of room 13. With two enemies in one, he didn't need to take Yang Kai too seriously, but as soon as you fought against each other, he knew that he was completely wrong. This Emperor Senior level is completely different from the ones he has encountered before. What made him even more angry was that there was no movement in room 13. Sensing the icy chill on the Million Sword, the head of the Kangkong sect said in a trembling voice, "Young master, spare your life, I would like to apologize, and please let me go." At the juncture of life and death, the head of the Kangkong sect didn't care about any honor or shame. He just wanted to survive. If his life was gone, he would really have nothing. Yang Kai slowly shook his head and said, "No one can stand without faith." When the words fell, a rainbow light swayed from the Million Sword, and slashed across the old man's neck. The old man's eyes widened instantly, he stared at Yang Kai in horror, covered his neck with his hands, and gritted his teeth. "You." Before he could say a word, bright red blood suddenly splashed out from his neck, and the powerful jet directly flew out of his head. "What a!" There were exclamations from all around the room. The Kangkongman sect master came to participate in the auction this time, and it seems that he brought a few young disciples to see the world. When Yang Kai broke into the house before, they were all frightened and stupid. The sect master, who was omnipotent, was struck with a sword. All of them exclaimed, their faces turned pale, and two of the handsome female disciples even fell to the ground, their eyes out of focus. Yang Kai ignored them, and casually grabbed the head of the Kangkong sect master, and took a look at his hair. Angry, his eyes stared at Yang Kai, as if he was dying, and it took a while for his eyes to gradually dim. Thousands of warriors in the hall fell silent. Previously, Yang Kai took out hundreds of millions of high-grade source crystals and created an unprecedented cultivation environment for them, making them feel grateful, thinking that this person is simply a rare good person in the world, but now he directly cut down the head of the Kangkong sect. They realized Yang Kai's terror. The Emperor seniors in the private room also had complex expressions, and those who knew Yang Kai's details slowly shook their heads, feeling sad for the old man. This person has even beaten Emperor Zun at the second level. He is at the entrance of the auction, and it is too late for others to hide. He dares to provoke him. Isn't he courting death? And other Emperor Senior realm who don't know Yang Kai's details, can't help but have some thoughts of rabbit death and fox grief. Most of them are the same as the master of Kangkong sect. They only have Emperor Senior realm, and they were killed by Yang Kai when they saw that he had no resistance. Now, when I thought about it, I felt a little creepy, and secretly decided not to provoke this evil star again, otherwise I might be the next one to die. Since you want to use your head as a kick for this young master, then this young master will reluctantly accept it. After Yang Kai finished speaking, he suddenly threw the old man's head, and then kicked it with a spinning kick. Accompanied by the sound of shooting, the head of Kangkongman's sect master flew straight towards the auction stage, leapt over Hua Qingxi's head, and hit a certain place in the backstage, and it shattered loudly, as if a watermelon had been smashed open. Backstage, Wu Ming was watching the fun, but he didn't expect Yang Kai to kick his head to his side, avoiding it dangerously, but was splashed with blood, his face turned black immediately, and his anger was suppressed. My heart, don't mention how uncomfortable it is. After doing this, Yang Kai stretched out his hand to lift the body of the master of the Kangkong sect, glanced at room 13, and said with a grin, "Where is that friend who said he wants to eat 3 caddies of shit? Get ready, there is something hot here." As he spoke, he carried the corpse and flew towards room 13. Swipe. Everyone looked towards room 13, full of sympathy. The master of Kangkong sect died immediately after his death, and he had a good time anyway. Yang Kai didn't use any means of torture, but the Emperor Senior stage in room 13, I'm afraid life would be worse than death. Imagining the torment that room 13 and others would encounter, many people shivered and got goosebumps all over the floor. They didn't doubt Yang Kai's determination and strength. The head of the Kangkong sect in room 7 said that he would kick his head as a ball, but he really kicked it. I really want to eat it. I have never participated in such an auction, never seen such a person, it is simply lawless. The whole place was silent, one after another spiritual thoughts came from the private rooms, and they went to room 13. Everyone was curious. Although they knew what might happen later, they still couldn't help but want to see it clear. Bumpa A. The door of room 13 seemed to be kicked open, and then a middle-aged man's angry voice came from inside. What do you want to do? This young master specially fulfills your wish, thank you. No, I didn't say that, don't come to me. A man is a real man, once a word is spoken, it is hard to follow, why do you shrink back when things come to an end? Young master, please let me go. I'm wrong, can't you? I was wrong before, don't count the faults of villains. Don't be as knowledgeable as me. That's not okay, it's the first time I've heard of such an ambition, and this little life is so big. Whatever you say, you have to satisfy you. Demon King, let him not resist. Yes, you, a scholar can't be humiliated, I will fight with you. You still want to fight in front of this king, young Master Yang, 3 caddies is too little, 30 caddies is fine. ... To be continued. Tags. The latest chapter of Martial Peak, the updated list of Martial Peak, Martial Peak. Chapter 2689 Defeng Yuan 5-row array. The restraining formation in private room number 13 was still intact, so everyone's spiritual thoughts were blocked out, and it was impossible to find out what happened inside, but the conversation was transmitted to everyone's ears very clearly. I only heard the Emperor in room 13 begging for mercy, and it seemed that he wanted to fight to the death, but he was subdued without any movement of fighting, and then there was a whining sound, followed by several more the strange swallowing sound of gurgling. Although they couldn't see anything, everyone seemed to be able to imagine what had happened to the Emperor Senior realm in private room No. 13. Vomita A. In the hall, a woman was the first to be unable to hold on, and opened her mouth to vomit. This sound seems to be a fuse, and it affects the whole body. Those warriors who are still struggling can no longer hold on. They all turn their heads away and vomit in a mess. The others frowned. The other emperors in the private room were also full of puzzlement. The Qiao Chamber of Commerce was one of the 2 top chambers of commerce in the southern region after all. No one cared about such a thing. Faintly, many people felt that this auction was not easy, as if they had accidentally waded into a quagmire. After a long time, Yang Kai came out of private room number 13, clapped his hands and said, "It's such a big life, it's the first time I see such a strange request, it's really an eye-opener." There was a constant sound of vomiting from behind, giving people a feeling that life would be worse than death. Continue. Yang Kai looked up at Hua Qingxi on the high platform. Hua Qingxi nodded slightly, knowing that Yang Kai was probably annoyed by his master this time, and he was full of anger and had nowhere to vent, but the 7th room and the 13th room took the initiative to bump into it, how could he be lenient? It was luck that room 13 was able to recover a life, but considering what happened to him, that kind of treatment might be worse than being killed. Looking around, Hua Qingxi said, "Room number 1 bid 100 million top-grade source crystals, is there any price increase?" Everyone was indifferent, thinking that the price was already 100 million, what a fart. Watching C nodded and said, since there is no one, then the third auction item belongs to room 1. She reached out her hand to signal, and the maid immediately walked towards room number 1 with the tray in her hand. Her small face was pale, and her calves were trembling, as if she was not going to room number 1, but some ghost purgatory. Yang Kai returned to the room and put away the third heavenly puppet. On the high platform, Watching C said again, the fourth auction item, Chenny Zongtian puppet. 100 million, Yang Kailang shouted. Watching C pursed her lips and smiled, looked around the hall and said, is no one increasing the price? After finishing speaking, she winked at the maid who just came out of the backstage, and now she didn't even bother to talk about the scene. The next auction was simply the interaction between Yang Kai and Watching C. Whenever an auction item was presented, Yang Kai would offer 100 million without hesitation, and Watching C simply sent the sky puppet to room 1. In the various private rooms, the expressions of many Emperor Senior realms were both helpless and ugly. I and others came here from thousands of miles to participate in the auction, but I didn't expect that they all became a foil, let alone the auction item, and I didn't even have the qualifications to bid. He said that he was 100 million, so who can compete with him? And as long as he is not blind, he can see that there is something wrong with Yang Kai. It seems that he did not come to participate in the auction but deliberately came to smash the place. Leaving aside the fact that he just killed the person in room 7 and humiliated the person in room 13, this offer alone is somewhat intriguing. He is indeed well capitalized, with hundreds of millions of high-grade source crystals in his hands, but even so, he shouldn't make such an offer, right? Those high-grade source crystals were not blown by strong winds, and the only explanation was that Yang Kai didn't plan to pay at all. The Emperor Senior realm here are not fools. After watching for so long, they still can't feel the taste. There is a trace of uneasiness in the depths of their hearts. It seems that invisible shackles are wrapped around the heart, which makes people feel uneasy. But the auctioneer on that stage was also very cooperative, which made people feel extremely weird. In less than a quarter of an hour, the Chenny sect's 9 celestial puppets had been auctioned off, and as expected, all the celestial puppets fell into Yang Kai's hands and were handed over to Yi Hen. Yi Hen was so excited that he couldn't help himself. He didn't expect that the puppet could be lost these days. He thought that the Chenny sect was destroyed, and the sect's inheritance might really be cut off in his own hands. These days, he has been extremely guilty and feels sorry for the Chenny sect. Even if Li Qingyan sent him back intact, Yi Hen still couldn't cheer up. But now, the 9 great heavenly puppets took back again, causing Yi Hen to suddenly surge with fighting spirit. Chenny Yizong was destroyed in his hands, and it must be rebuilt in his hands to reappear the glory of the ancestors. The 500 disciples he arranged into Emperor Tiangu are hope, and the well-preserved secret art books are also hope. The sky puppet is even more hopeful. In an instant, Yi Hen's spirit was refreshed, as if he had changed himself. Seeing all this, Yi Jinghen and Du Xian were secretly excited, and their gratitude to Yang Kai deepened. After all, things like heavenly puppets are really amazing things. Any one of them is comparable to Emperor Senior Realm. If someone else takes pictures, I'm afraid they will keep them for use, but Yang Kai returned them all to Yi Hen, which is a shame. It's hard not to be grateful for someone who is called a high-spirited person. Young Master Yang, they seem to be stalling for time. Ying Fei said suddenly. Yang Kai nodded and said, I know. He has already shown such a strong performance, every auction item is in the bag, but Wu Ming didn't come forward to stop it, but kept silent. Isn't this delaying time? I would rather give up the 9 heavenly puppets than delay time, which shows the great planning behind it. Do you want that Mrs. Hua to speed up the auction? Ying Fei asked with a frown. Yang Kai shook his head and said, Sister Hua was given a heart-stimulating GU by the bell, and she couldn't help herself. Heart-stimulating GU. Ying Fei's expression changed, obviously he had heard of this kind of thing before. If you come here, let's be safe, let's see what tricks they want to play. Yang Kai took a sip of tea lightly. On the high platform, Watching C suddenly frowned, glanced at the backstage, hesitated for a moment before saying, the first half of the auction is over, please take a break, there will be better auction items next appearing, you will not be disappointed. Hearing this, Yang Kai couldn't help squinting his eyes. But the Emperor Senior stage and the private rooms all pouted for a while. This auction, if there is no such evil as Yang Kai, it would be a good auction, but now there is a Yang Kai, it's just a grain of rat droppings in a pot of thick soup. The black sheep is talking about this kind of person. With him, how can other people have the qualifications to participate in the auction? The 9 heavenly puppets of the Chenizong were all in his pocket. Even if there is a good auction item in the future, I am afraid that no one else will step in. As long as he opens his mouth to bid, it will definitely become his pocket again. Thinking of this, many people lost their interest, knowing that no matter how good things were in this auction, they would not be able to get them, so they got up from their private rooms one after another, wanting to leave here. All of a sudden, half of the people in the more than 30 private rooms went to the outsiders, and the remaining half of the people probably stayed just to watch the excitement. As for the auction items, they had already given up their hopes. When they got to the entrance of the auction, everyone realized that the place had been sealed off. It seemed that there was a solid formation covering the entire branch of the 7 Luminaries' Chamber of Commerce, making it impossible for them to leave. What's going on? Why don't you let us go? The Qiao Chamber of Commerce is really too courageous. Is this going to wipe me out? It has long been felt that something is wrong with this auction, but now it seems that there is indeed a conspiracy. Don't panic, everyone, join hands together, and a mere formation can be broken by itself. More than a dozen emperors at the first or second level would be an extremely powerful force if they really joined forces. After a brief discussion, everyone used their means to bombard the formation. After a stick of incense, more than a dozen people stopped their hands with ugly faces, and their hearts sank to the bottom of the valley looking at the restriction that hadn't changed in the slightest. No one expected that this formation was so powerful that it had resisted the joint attack of more than a dozen emperor senior realms for such a long time without any response. Brother Gong, the Gong family in Tianhe Valley is a master of the formation. Can you see the name of the formation? A person suddenly turned his head and looked at a half-old man who was wearing a soap suit and was mixed in the crowd. It's not surprising, but he is the current head of the Gong family in Tianhe Valley. Looking at the entire southern region, the Tianhe Valley Gong family is definitely well known, because everyone in this family is proficient in formations, and many sects, guardian formations were arranged by this family. The Gong Wenshan that Yongkai met in the Land of 4 Seasons back then was a disciple of the Gong family. Gong Wenshan was only at the Tao origin realm, and the way of the formation was already superb in his hands, let alone the patriarch of the Gong family. In terms of attainments in the way of formation, the patriarch of the Gong family is comparable to the Nanman army in the Northern Territory. What, Your Excellency is actually Patriarch Gong? How disrespectful and disrespectful, someone exclaimed. Obviously, he had heard the name of the old man surnamed Gong for a long time, and when he saw it for the first time today, he immediately clasped his fists and saluted. Most of the people were like this, and they greeted the old man surnamed Gong for a while. Looking back now, when everyone joined forces to attack the formation just now, Patriarch Gong seemed to have not put all his strength into it. It turned out that he was not doing foreign work, but observing. Patriarch Gong frowned slightly, thought for a while and said, "If the old man is not mistaken, this is the Defengyuan 5 elements formation." "What's so special about this array?" asked a bystander. Patriarch Gong said, "This big square and 5-element array gathers the power of the 5 elements, which are mutually generated and restrained. They are endless and cannot be broken by brute force. Once they are arranged, they will have the effect of guarding the heaven and the earth." "Guard the heaven and the earth!" An exclamation came. "This is an extremely brilliant formation." Patriarch Gong's face was solemn, and what? To be continued. Chapter 2690. Do you dare to have any opinions? Patriarch Gong looked around, and said, "It seems that there is more than one 5-element formation with a large square and circle, and there is another set of formations connected in series. Array within an array." The speaker's face darkened. Even if he is not proficient in formations, he still knows what a formation within an formation is. It is several times more difficult than arranging 2 formations alone. Patriarch Gong can't tell. A middle-aged man with a white face and beardless asked. He thought that with Patriarch Gong here, breaking the formation was just a matter of effort, but he didn't expect Patriarch Gong to look embarrassed. This news made people feel anxious. Patriarch Gong shook his head and said, "If you can't see it, it's just that it's hidden too deeply." "Then Patriarch Gong may crack this array." Patriarch Gong said, "Yes, I can, but I'm afraid I don't have so much time." With his ability, if he was given 3 or 2 days of effort, he would be able to crack such a formation, but after 3 or 2 days of effort, the auction would have ended long ago, and the formation would naturally open by then, so why should he come crack? "Everyone, please stay calm." At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. Everyone was startled, turned their heads to look, and only stood Wu Ming not far away, looking at them with a smile. What on earth is your Qiao Chamber of Commerce going to do? Should you give us an explanation? The white-faced, beardless middle-aged man jumped out and looked at Wu Ming angrily. He thought Wu Ming was the head of Qiao Chamber of Commerce. After all, he was the one who greeted the guests at the door before. The others also glared at Wu Ming angrily. Wu Ming smiled slightly, and said, "You are all distinguished guests, what can I do to you? But my master has ordered you not to leave before the auction is over. Please go back to your room first. After the auction is over, master, he will naturally revoke the formation. Can a cow press its head forcibly without drinking water? I can come and leave as soon as I want to this auction. Quickly cancel the formation and let me leave." Wu Ming looked at the speaker with a faint smile, but he didn't speak, let alone make any movements. Suddenly, the spiritual energy of the surrounding world surged, and a sharp blade with 5 colors of light appeared strangely, and shot towards the speaker like an arrow leaving the string. People shoot. Everyone was shocked and ran away one after another. And the Emperor Senior Realm who bears the brunt is even more pale, urging Diyuan to resist. Under these 5-color sharp blades, all his resistances are as vulnerable as paper. The 5-color sharp blades directly penetrated his Diyuan protection, and opened a big hole in his chest. Blood splattered. Everyone was silent, and all of them stared at the man with wide-eyed eyes. The man was still alive for a while. He looked down at his chest, then raised his head to look at Wu Ming in disbelief, and said in a trembling voice, "You." After uttering a single word, his whole body went limp and he fell to the ground. More than a dozen Emperor Senior Realms scalps were numb, and they couldn't believe that Qiao Chamber of Commerce dared to kill people in their own branch. No one knew what the 5-color sharp blade was. Only Patriarch Gong understood that it was not human. It is the power of the formation. The Defengyuan 5 Elements formation not only has the ability to guard the world, but also has the power to kill the enemy. Wu Ming still smiled, but that smile was imprinted in everyone's eyes, but it was more terrifying than anything in the world. Although Yang Kai killed the old man in room number 7 in the auction venue earlier, but there are traces to follow. At least he punched and soared. Wu Ming killed without even moving his hands. How can this be human power? Why? Suddenly remembered, what master he mentioned before. Wu Ming himself is at the 2nd level of Emperor Senior, so if he can become his master, wouldn't he be at the 3rd level of Emperor Senior? A disciple of Emperor Senior's 2nd level realm, a master of Emperor Senior's 3rd level realm, and even a large formation to help. If there is a conflict, they may be able to sweep them away, and everyone is belatedly afraid. Is anyone else leaving? Wu Ming looked at the crowd with a smile. No one answered. Wu Ming nodded and said, "Then please." After speaking, he stepped aside and made a gesture. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, but they didn't dare to have any disagreement. The body of the dead man was not cold, and the lessons learned from the past were the teachers of the future. Patriarch Gong. Wu Ming suddenly called out again. Patriarch Gong paused, then turned his head and said, "What orders do you have?" Wu Ming smiled and said, "Patriarch Gong is being polite. I didn't expect Patriarch Gong to condescend to come here after a mere auction. Master is very surprised, so I want to invite Patriarch Gong to go and explain." "Master is?" Patriarch Gong asked with a frown. Wu Ming smiled and said, "Patriarch Gong will know when he goes to see him." Patriarch Gong gave a wry smile and said, "Can I not go, old man?" Of course he knew that going there would be nothing good, and secretly regretted that he shouldn't have commented on this bullshit formation just now in such a long speech. Although I don't know what the arrangement of the formation here is for, but everyone here with my own formation obviously makes the person who arranged it fearful. Wu Ming narrowed his eyes and said, "Master is very kind, Patriarch Gong had better not refuse." Although the tone was flat, anyone could see the threat. Patriarch Gong sighed, knowing that his arms could untwist his thighs, so he could only say, "Lead the way." He was also curious as to who was secretly arranging these and what purpose they had. "Please." Wu Ming turned around and said, but before he could take a step, he suddenly froze and stared forward with wide-eyed eyes. Not far ahead, Yang Kai suddenly appeared at some point, looking at him with a smile on his face. For this young man who beat him up at the entrance of the auction just now, Wu Ming is both afraid and fearful. His cultivation at the 2nd level of Emperor Senior Realm is so vulnerable in the eyes of the other party. Seeing him blocking the front at the moment, Wu Ming almost instinctively jumped a few feet away, and shouted, "Yang Kai, what are you doing?" Yang Kai glanced at him, then looked around, nodded and said, Defeng Yuan 5 Elements Formation, guarding the world, it seems that you have made sufficient preparations to deal with this young master. Wu Ming's expression darkened when he heard this, and he realized that Yang Kai should have eavesdropped on what the Patriarch Gong said just now. The master arranged this 5-element array to deal with Yang Kai. After all, this guy is proficient in the power of space. If he doesn't guard and block the world, he won't know where to go if he just teleports. Only by making a cage can his actions be restricted. Being pointed out by Yang Kai, Wu Ming didn't hide it, just snorted coldly, I warn you, you'd better be sensible, otherwise you will regret it. Yang Kai sneered, I don't need to worry about whether I regret it or not, but if you dare to be presumptuous again, I guarantee that you will not live until that time. Wu Ming's face turned cold, but he did not dare to be presumptuous anymore. He had seen Yang Kai's strength before, and he was no match for him fighting alone, so he stared at Yang Kai fiercely with a pair of resentful eyes. Patriarch Gong, I have admired you for a long time. Yang Kai cupped his fists at the old man surnamed Gong. You are Yang Kai? Patriarch Gong looked at him in amazement. Yang Kai frowned and said, Patriarch Gong has heard of me. Patriarch Gong said, I heard that boy from Wenshan mentioned that Mr. Yang refined the Tamiao treasure pill in the land of 4 seasons back then. There was a lot of excitement in the southern region at that time. Gong Wenshan, a blurred figure flashed in Yang Kai's mind. He didn't have any friendship with Gong Wenshan, but only once in the land of 4 seasons. However, the reason why Yi Jinghan went to Fenggalan City to ask Yang Kai to help open the Emperor's Sky Valley was because of Gong Wenshan's recommendation. Mr. Yang is young and promising, and now he has been promoted to Emperor Zun. That kid in Wenshan is still struggling in Daoyuan realm. He is really a fearsome young man. Patriarch Gong sighed for a while, secretly thinking that Yang Kai was able to be promoted to Emperor Zun so quickly. It should have something to do with that wonderful pill. Back then, he refined several Tamiao pills, and he sold them later. I heard that Wuchang got one of them, and a disciple of Bafang sect got another one. Now that day, Wuchang of the Martial Saint Land has been promoted to Emperor Zun. It can be seen that the powerful effect of Tai Miao Dan, although the disciple of the Bafang sect has not been promoted to Emperor Zun, but has been favored by the top sects, and several sects have extended olive branches to her, intending to recruit her. As long as she nodded in agreement, she was a core disciple. And all of this is thanks to Tai Miao Dan. Patriarch Gong praises it, but I just have better luck. Yang Kai humbly smiled and said, I want to invite Patriarch Gong to go to the room to have a talk. I don't know what the Gong family thinks. Patriarch Gong showed gratitude, knowing that Yang Kai was helping him out of danger, but he still looked at Wu Ming hesitantly. Yang Kai's face sank, and said, Patriarch Gong is going to be my guest, do you dare to have any opinions? Wu Ming was annoyed, but he didn't dare to answer. It seems that there is no objection. Yang Kai curled his lips and said to Patriarch Gong, please. Patriarch Gong's expression relaxed, and he stretched out his hand and said, Young Master Yang, please. The two walked towards the auction venue one by one. Before leaving, Yang Kai turned to Wu Ming and said, Go back and tell your master, this young master will blow his head off, let him get ready. Patriarch Gong staggered when he heard this, and almost fell to the ground, thinking that he is really young and energetic. How dare the first level of Emperor Zun dare to challenge the third level? Looking at the back of the two of them leaving, Wu Ming had a look of resentment, and secretly said in his heart that he wanted you to be rampant for a while, and he would make you kneel down and beg for mercy later. Bring Patriarch Gong back to room number 1, and introduce Ying Fei, Yi Hen and the others to him. However, Patriarch Gong is still grateful to Yang Kai for taking him away. Yang Kai waved his hand and said, Patriarch Gong doesn't need to apologize, although I don't know what Wu Ming asked you to do, but he definitely wanted to use you to deal with me, and I brought you here just to protect myself. Yang Kai didn't dare to underestimate a master of the formation. If he really wanted to participate in the presiding formation, the power of the formation would at least increase by 30%, if not, he wouldn't act so rashly. Kai Uio and others are still on Wu Ming's side. If they really offend the master behind him, it must be nothing good. To be continued. Chapter 2691 Almost. Fortunately, I don't know what Wu Ming's master is busy with. After Yang Kai brought Patriarch Gong back, he didn't see the slightest reaction. AA Shuawang W. A. About a quarter of an hour later, Watching C stepped onto the high platform again. Everyone looked up, knowing that the second half of the auction was about to begin. They all looked up at the high platform. On the high platform, watching C coquettishly said, "Everyone has been waiting for a long time, the next auction is a martial artist of the second level of Daoyuan." As soon as this remark came out, everyone was in an uproar, and all turned their attention to the stage. After all, the auction had already advertised that there would be a star master from the lower plane star field. Now, hearing what watching C said, they all subconsciously thought that the warrior from the second level of Daoyuan was that star master. Everyone is still very curious about the Star Master. After all, in the vast star world, there is no such thing as a Star Master. There were quite a few tens of thousands of years ago, but since the Heaven Devourer Emperor poisoned many star regions, the passages between the star realms and the major star realms have all been closed, and the strong in the star realms can no longer easily go. The origins of the stars are refined in the star fields of the lower planes. Now a Star Master suddenly appeared, but it was an extremely rare existence. Any star body has a complete star source. If it can be stripped out, it can inherit the position of its Star Master. With a complete star source, the road to martial arts will be smooth sailing in the future. Under the eyes of everyone, a gloomy, skinny, ghostly old man suddenly appeared from the backstage. The old man must have been planted with some kind of restriction, and he had no breath at all, but even so, he still gave people a gloomy look. It feels, especially the pair of sunken eyeballs in the eye sockets, as if two balls of will-o'-the-wisps are beating, which is extremely frightening. This is the Star Lord. It's nothing special. Having a complete star source, he has only cultivated to the second level of Daoyuan. It seems that his aptitude is really not very good. What do you know? Rumor has it that these fighters from the star fields of the lower planes are all top-notch aptitudes and calm-minded. AAA novel AAC 1/2 are kings and hegemons in their respective star fields. It took a lot of hard work to come to the star realm. Every warrior who came from the star field of the lower plane is comparable to the core disciples of those big sects in terms of aptitude. There was a lot of discussion in the hall. They whispered to each other and pointed at the thin old man on the high platform. "I have never eaten pork, but I have always seen pigs running away." Although it is not easy for martial artists from the lower planes to come to the star realm, and there are not many of them, many people know it. Those star fields do not have such an excellent cultivation environment as the star realm, and they are extremely rare talents who can cultivate to the peak in their respective star fields. It is precisely because of this that Lu Shanyan told Yang Kai when he came to Star Realm that year that warriors like them are welcomed by many sects, as long as they reveal that they are warriors from the lower plane, will definitely be accepted and cultivated by some big sects. Because warriors like them have more hope of being promoted to Emperor Senior Realm than most warriors in the Star Realm. Ghost Ancestor. In Room 1, Yang Kai looked at the thin old man on the high platform with complex eyes, and recognized his identity at a glance. Ghost Ancestor has been surrounded by ghostly aura all year round, and ordinary people can't see his true face at all, but now that he is imprisoned in his cultivation, naturally he can no longer arouse any ghostly aura. He is so thin and bony, not because of any torture, but because of himself. He practiced the way of ghosts, and his flesh and blood had long since dried up, transforming into ghost energy. On the high platform, watching C continued. He is not a Star Lord, but he is a friend of that Star Lord, and he also came from the star field of the lower plane, so don't worry about aptitude. Not Star Master. What are you doing? It's not the Star Master who also put it up for auction. Isn't this just a joke? Everyone in the audience shouted loudly, but they didn't buy it. Jia 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 Jia. Guizhu sneered for a while, like howling like a ghost, which made all the warriors in the hall change color. Sister Hua, stop messing around. AAAAC 1/2 WWW. Yang Kai said suddenly, your master should have almost prepared, send me over. Ghost Ancestor stopped laughing. He looked towards room number 1 in astonishment, and immediately the two will-o'-the-wisps in his eye sockets burst into strange light. Watching C smiled wryly. Okay. She didn't want to be like this either, it's just that the master had ordered before, and she had to do it, but now that Yang Kai has spoken, she will of course obey. The most important thing is that the master did not object. It can be seen that Yang Kai is right, the master Zun is indeed almost ready, there is no need to delay any more. While speaking, watching C reached out her hand to signal, and immediately a maid led Guizhu to the number 1 room. The door opened, Ghost Ancestor walked in, and after seeing Yang Kai, he clasped his fists excitedly and said, Sect Master. The elder is suffering. Yang Kai raised his hand and helped him up. Ghost Ancestor said with a face full of shame, it's because the old man is not good at learning. Thinking back when he was in the constant Luo starfield, not to mention invincible, but he was considered a powerful party. With the powerful cultivation base of the Void King's third layer realm, it is really hard to find anyone in the entire starfield that can beat him, but after arriving in this starfield, was actually restrained everywhere, and now Lune is a prisoner under the prison, and was taken out as an auction item to show the public. It is simply a great shame. Ghost Ancestor also knew that the enemy was powerful, and he couldn't provoke him now. If Yongkai hadn't appeared suddenly, he might have been bought by someone, and he would be a slave for the rest of his life. I shudder just thinking about it. Yi Hen, Yi Jinghen and others hurried up to meet each other. Gui Zhu and the others had spent a lot of time in Chenyi sect, and they had already become familiar with each other. Seeing him escape from trouble at this moment, they were naturally happy for him. I'll untie the restriction for you. Yongkai put his hand on Ghost Ancestor's shoulder, started to search with his divine sense, and asked while researching, "How are Kai Yu and the others now?" Ghost Ancestor said, "There is no fear of life, but the cultivation bases that are all sealed, it seems that they will be brought out for auction later." Yongkai nodded and said, "That's fine." After finishing speaking, Emperor Yuan suddenly trembled all over his body, rushing towards Ghost Ancestor's body. A blush flashed unnaturally on Guizu's old face, and he opened his mouth to spit out a mouthful of black blood, but he felt his whole body lighten up inexplicably, and the imprisoned source power in his body started to circulate again. A dense ghostly energy gushed out, wrapping him all over, and the Ghost Ancestor didn't dare to say it. "Sect Master, your cultivation level." Although he didn't quite understand how powerful the person who imprisoned him was, he still had some guesses. "That is the legendary third-layer Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse." Unexpectedly, the suzerain made a move, and the seal was released in just a few breaths of effort. In this way, isn't the suzerain's cultivation level comparable to that old guy? No wonder Ghost Ancestor was so shocked. If so, it would be simply unbelievable. After all, everyone came to Star Boundary together back then, and now they are only at the Daoyuan second level, but Yongkai is far ahead. I really don't know how he has cultivated these years. "I just entered Emperor Zun." Yongkai stretched out his hand and patted Ghost Ancestor's shoulder, and said, "I'll talk to you later." Ghost Ancestor nodded, still quite shocked, although Yongkai's cultivation was not as he imagined, but much weaker, but being able to be promoted to Emperor Senior in such a short period of time is also extremely amazing. In particular, with his first-level cultivation base of Emperor Senior, he was able to easily break the seal issued by a strong man in the third level. How can this be explained by ordinary means? When he was in the Star Realm, Yongkai often created miracles, defeating the strong with the weak. It seems that after coming to this Star Realm, he has not changed, and it is still the same. Realizing this, Guizhu was secretly excited. The few of them were helpless in the Star Boundary, and this time even the Chenyi sect who was living in them was wiped out. Now that Yongkai has shown such a powerful force, he can become their reliance. On the high platform, another person came out from the background. Yongkai looked, it was Jiyu Kangyan, the leader of the Sword Alliance back then. Watching Si didn't even intend to introduce at all, she just gestured to the maid who led the people out, and the maid immediately led Jiyu Kangyan to the number 1 room. After a while, it was sent into the room. After seeing Yongkai, Jiyu Kangyan was naturally surprised and delighted. The last time they were in trouble in Crane City that day, it was Yongkai who saved them. After a few years, a similar thing happened again. This made Jiyu Kangyan feel a little bit emotional in his heart. After all, he is still reliable. I.O. was then led out. There was a mysterious silence in the auction hall. They thought that the first half of the auction was already peculiar enough. It was all the interaction between Yongkai and watching Si, and the others didn't interrupt at all. But I didn't want the second half of the auction to be even weirder. The auctioneer didn't auction, and the number 1 room didn't bid, but one after another warriors were led out and sent to number 1 room. What is even more strange is that the emperors in those private rooms also kept silent, and no one accused or questioned anything. No one had ever attended an auction like this, and the entire auction looked like a farce, much to the dismay of many. "It's almost there." Yongkai settled I.O., and suddenly squinted his eyes and said something. "What's the matter?" I.O. looked at him suspiciously. The shock on his face hadn't disappeared completely. When he learned that Yongkai had been promoted to Emperor Senior just now, he still couldn't believe it, and he didn't accept this fact until Yongkai untied his seal. As Yongkai's prospective father-in-law, I.O. didn't know whether to envy or rejoice. He could only sigh in his heart. This girl Shuiyu found a good man, but I don't know if he has recruited bees in the star realm all these years attract butterflies. There are many good women in the star realm, with Yang Kai's ability and the light that blooms, it is normal to have a few women by his side. If one day, Shuiyu can come to this star realm from her hometown star field, I'm afraid she won't be able to compete with the women in those star realms. As a father, I can't help feeling a little worried. Sometimes, it's not a good thing for a man to be too good, especially the son-in-law. To be continued. Chapter 2692 8 Square Elements Array. By the way, where is Chai-Hu? Yang Kai suddenly thought of another person. Chai-Hu did not come from the Hengluo starfield, but a native of the star realm. However, he has a very close relationship with ghost ancestor Chiyueu and others, and even sworn brothers. Back then, there were 5 people who came with Yang Kai from the constant Luo starfield: Wu Dao, Guizhu, Io, Kai Yu and Ji Kangyan. Among them, Wu Dao was the number 1 person in the starfield back then. Unfortunately, the way of heaven is impermanent. He finally died in the baptism of heaven and earth energy when he was promoted to the source of Dao. It was also at that time that the 4 of them got to know Chai-Hu and got a lot of help from him. Later, when their friendship became deep, they became brothers. Guizhu was the eldest, Io was the second child, Ji Kangyan was the 3rd child, and Chai-Hu was the 4th child. As for Chiyu, she is everyone's 5th sister. When Yang Kai passed Sky Crane City back then, he met Luo Jin, the lord of Sky Crane City, who forced Kai Yu to marry him. At that time, Chai-Hu hijacked Luo Jin's daughter Luo Bing as a hostage, and wanted to rescue Kai Yu, but the result fell short. If it wasn't for Yang Kai I was there at that time, I am afraid that Chai-Hu will also confess. Later, Yang Kai made a big fuss in the Tianhe City Lord's mansion, killed many people, took a group of people out, and placed them in Chenyizong. At this moment, he also suddenly remembered that there was such a number 1 person as Chai-Hu. Hearing Yang Kai's question, ghost ancestor Jia laughed and said, "The 4th child has love and robbery." With whom? Yang Kai was stunned. Io also said with a strange expression, "That Luo Bing, do you still remember her?" Yang Kai was stunned, unable to believe it. Chai-Hu hijacked Luo Bing back then. Logically speaking, even if the 2 were not enemies, they wouldn't flirt with each other. I really don't know how these 2 see each other. Io said. When the 4th child hijacked that girl, it seemed that she happened to be in some danger, so even though she was kidnapped, she was saved. Tempted. It's a pity that her father died at the hands of you, young boy, and the 4th child is our brother. That girl has never been able to pass her own test. Even if she has some affection for the 4th child, she still hides it in her heart. She left 2 years ago. The 4th child was worried, so he followed her, and there is no news so far, and he doesn't know where he went. Ji Kangyan said, "It's a blessing and a misfortune, because of this, the 4th child is also spared from this difficulty." Yang Kai nodded slightly. Since that Chai-Hu has not been in Chenyi sect all this time, there is no need to worry about anything. He asked that, he was just taking care of Guizhu and others, he himself has no friendship with Chai-Hu. 5th sister is still in the hands of that old bastard. Io said with a serious face, "I don't know if it will be sent out for auction." I hope. Ji Kangyan turned his head and looked up the high platform. They were all sent out. Logically Kai Yu would also be sent out. Yang Kai said lightly, "If I am that person, I will definitely keep a hostage in my hand." Several people were surprised. At this moment, watching C on the high platform said, "Everyone, this auction is over, but please stay calm. Everyone has come from afar, and my concubine master has prepared a generous gift for you. I hope you don't dislike it. I was really detained." Iu's face sank and became extremely ugly. The auction was over, but there was still no sign of Kai Yu. Obviously she was taken hostage as Yang Kai expected. Although the few people have been detained by that old thing, and even their cultivation bases have been sealed, they still don't understand what he is going to do. "Demon King, protect them," Yang Kai ordered. His figure flickered, and he suddenly flashed out from room 1, hovering in the sky above the auction hall, his eyes looking towards the backstage. There was no one there, and Wu Ming had long since disappeared. He winked at watching C, and said via voice transmission, "Sister Hua, go to room 1. Ying Fei is there, and even if there is any change later, he can take care of it to some extent." Watching C nodded, stomped her feet, and rushed towards room 1, disappearing in the blink of an eye. In the hall, in the private room, countless eyes looked at Yang Kai, not knowing what this arrogant young man wanted to do. Yang Kai's spiritual thoughts poured out like a tide, and he said loudly, "Old dog, you use this auction to lure this young master to show up. This young master is here, you use my friends to delay the time so that you can arrange it well. This young master is just like you wish. Why, when things come to an end, you still have to hide your head and show your tail, don't you dare to show yourself." Some words were shouted out, but there was no response at all. On the other hand, many warriors in the hall looked at each other, whispering to each other, looking at Yang Kai with idiotic eyes, wondering if he had lost his mind and gone crazy. "Sneaky is shameful, old dog, you are also an elder of the Star God Palace, how can you be so timid?" Yang Kai sneered, speaking with all his might, trying his best to ridicule him. "What, the elder of the Star God Palace? Where did the elders of the Star God Palace come from? What does he mean?" Everyone was shocked. Yang Kai's words were like a stone stirring up 1,000 waves. Star God Palace, in the southern region, is not just a name, but also a symbol, an invincible existence. After all, it is the great emperor's sect, the giant guarding the southern region. And the elders of the Star God Palace are big figures that are rare for ordinary people to see, and their status is no worse than the sect masters of those first-line sects. And listening to Yang Kai's words, he seems to have some kind of festival with an elder of the Star God Palace. Isn't this a suicide attempt? In the Southern Territory, it is not good to offend anyone, but to actually offend an elder of the Star God Palace, and dare to yell like this, speak loudly, and scold one old dog in a smooth manner, it is simply incomprehensible. For a time, many people looked at Yang Kai as if they were looking at a dead person. Offending an elder of the Star God Palace like this, what else is there to survive? Ha 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 ha. A loud laugh suddenly sounded, the voice was erratic, and it gave people a feeling of being unpredictable. Aroused, Yuan rolled uncontrollably, terrified, knowing that the person who laughed was definitely a terrifying existence. Could this person be the elder of the Star God Palace? There are not many elders in the Star God Palace, and it is not known who this is. I've heard about Yang Xiaoyu's name for a long time, but seeing him today really deserves his reputation. Yang Kai snorted coldly. I don't want to talk to sneaky people, show up. The voice was silent for a while, and then said, since Xiaoyu Yang insists on this, then it will be as you wish. When the words fell, the sky and the earth were suddenly darkened, and the entire auction venue suddenly flashed with countless array patterns, and those array patterns lit up quickly, as if a single spark could start a prairie fire, and spread all around at once. In the next moment, everyone had an illusion that the world was upside down and the space was separated. In the dark, there is an invisible force pulling, as if to throw people into the endless void. Octagonal array. In room No. 1, Patriarch Gong's face suddenly changed, and he quickly took out a set of array flags, and Emperor Yuan poured them into the array flags. The flag was thrown into the void. The array flags disappeared quickly, and the chaotic space in room 1 immediately stabilized. Gong Tai, you are looking for death. An angry shout came. It was the mysterious voice before. It seemed that Patriarch Gong's actions made him a little frightened and angry, and the words were mixed with the violent power to shock the mind. The power blasted into Gong Tai's sea of AA consciousness, causing a pain in his head, and when he opened his mouth, a cloud of blood sprayed out, and he fell to the ground all of a sudden. This is not over yet. In room number 1, a burst of 5-colored brilliance suddenly flashed, condensed into a sharp blade, and slashed directly at Gong Tai. These 5-color light blades are exactly the power of the powerful formation that killed an Emperor Senior Realm before. When Gong Tai saw it, his face turned ashen in an instant, and he shouted in his heart that my life is over. Seeing that the 5-color light blade was about to be cut off, there was a howl of an eagle, and an eagle claw suddenly protruded from the side, holding the 5-color light blade fiercely, squeezed it hard, and there was a crisp sound, and the 5-color light blade collapsed instantly spread out. Gong Tai was gasping for breath, his face was pale, he didn't know that someone saved his life at this critical moment. Looking to the side with lingering fear in his heart, he saw Ying Fei slightly nod his head at him and said, don't worry, with this king here, no one can kill you. Gong Tai stood up, clasped his fists respectfully and said, thank you, Demon King, for protecting you. The elders of Xingshan Palace wanted to kill him, but it was a Demon King who saved his life. It was ironic to say that. Ying Fei waved his hand and said, no, but what did you say about the octagonal array? When Yang Kai brought Gong Tai over, he also chatted with him a few words. Of course Ying Fei knew that this Gong Tai was a master of the formation, otherwise he wouldn't have recognized the name of the formation at a glance, and had more means to restrain himself. Gui Zhu and others also looked at Gong Tai curiously. Gong Tai sighed and said, "It's a formation that separates space from heaven and earth. Before, I saw that there was an formation within a formation, but I didn't expect it to be an 8-direction element formation." Formation within formation? What other formations? Ying Fei frowned. Dianfeng Yuan 5-element formation. Gong Tai replied, "These two formations complement each other and rely on each other, and the means of the people who set up the formation are indeed very good." After a pause, he looked at Ying Fei and said, "May I ask Lord Demon King, what kind of enmity does that Yang Shouty have with this Xingshan Palace elder, so that this elder did not hesitate to set up 2 large formations to trap him?" Ying Fei's face darkened, and he said, "You mean, this formation has the effect of trapping people?" Gong Tai nodded and said, "That's right, the Dianfeng Yuan 5-element formation guards the world and seals off the space. This auction venue has been sealed off now. If the formation is not broken, no one will be able to leave. But the Octagon Fenyuan formation can kill the people here. Everyone is isolated and in separate small spaces. If the old man hadn't seen the opportunity and laid down restraint just now, I'm afraid we would all be separated." When Ying Fei heard this, his face changed greatly, not good. Turning his head and looking around, he couldn't see Yang Kai's trace, only room 1 was pitch black, as if the whole room had sunk into the void, and when his divine sense probed outside, he couldn't detect anyone's aura. Thousands of people at the auction suddenly disappeared. Chapter 2693 You Come to Bite Me. In an instant, the eagle's face sank like water. He always thought that with his own protection, it would be no big deal even to the last elder of the Star God Palace. After all, he was also a demon king, comparable to the 3rd-level Emperor Senior, so how could he be afraid of an elder of the Star God Palace? But now this 8-direction element formation has isolated everyone, and now he doesn't even know where Yang Kai is, so how can he protect him? On the contrary, the person who set up the formation can use the power of the formation to easily play with Yang Kai in the applause. Deep remorse can't help but emerge in the heart. It would have been nice if he had strongly advised Yang Kai to bring Shi Lei and Xie Wuwei over, but at that time Yang Kai didn't agree, so he couldn't say much. But after thinking about it, the other party has this kind of octagonal element array, which can separate everyone. Even if they bring more demon kings, it is useless. A few days ago, I had already exposed the identity of the demon king. Since the other party dared to make such a move, they must have made complete preparations. Now it seems that the layout is well planned, and the 2 sets of formations are in operation, not only trapping Yang Kai here in one world, he fell into the environment of fighting alone. Patriarch Gong, is it possible to break the formation? Ying Fei asked in a deep voice. Gong Tai sighed leisurely. It is possible, but it takes time. How long? Ying Fei felt bad. 10 days. Ying Fei was silent for a moment. After 10 days, even the day lily was cold. Given Yang Kai's current situation, how could he wait here for 10 days? Io said from the side. Little Yang has always been lucky and faithful. Although the opponent's methods are good this time, he may not be able to do anything to him. Patriarch Gong sighed as to break the formation first. We will also think of a way to see if we can if you can find Boy Yang, help him, eh? This is also a helpless way. Everyone knows what he said is true. They immediately split up and searched around, wanting to see if there are any flaws in this formation. In the pitch-black world, Yang Kai seemed to be in the void, but the surrounding environment was completely different from the void. His spiritual mind was swept out, and an invisible barrier surrounded him, so that he could not detect any traces of anyone. He stood quietly on the spot, with the corners of his mouth raised, not frightened or frightened, waiting patiently. In the darkness, a pair of eyes quietly observed his reaction, and seeing that he didn't show the slightest sign of panic, he immediately knew that his temperament was extraordinary and could not be dealt with by ordinary means. Body. A light suddenly appeared in the pitch-black world, and immediately in front of it, a figure suddenly appeared. Yang Kai looked up, and immediately saw an old man. He seemed to be standing there all the time, without a trace, and behind him, there were 2 figures. One was Wu Ming who had disappeared before, and the other it was Kai Yu whom I hadn't seen for a long time. Kai Yu should also have her cultivation sealed. Her pretty face was slightly pale, and she was being held hostage by Wu Ming at the moment. With her hands behind her back, Wu Ming grabbed her tightly, unable to move. The first time she saw Yang Kai Yu's eyes burst out with surprise, as if she didn't expect him to appear here, but soon her pretty face sank, and she shook her head slowly at Yang Kai, signaling him to run away quickly. Wu Ming saw all this in his eyes, sneered lightly, and with a slight force on his hand, Kai Yu couldn't help but groan. His face became paler and paler because of the pain. Yang Xiaoyu. At first glance, the old man looked like a fairy, with 3 strands of long beard, wearing a blue soap robe, but he had the temperament of an outsider, and greeted Yang Kai with a smile on his face. "Old dog, you are finally willing to show up." Yang Kai bared his teeth and smiled. The old man smiled wryly and shook his head, and said, "Little friend Yang, please be merciful, old man Tan Junhao." "Old dog Tan." Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. "Little bastard, keep your mouth clean, and try shouting again." Wu Ming's face became angry. Yang Kai raised his head, and said in a very fast tone, "Tan lagu tan lagu tan lagu tan lagu, wu xiaogu, wu xiaogu, wu xiaogu, wu xiaogu." This young master shouted, "You come and bite me. Bastard." Wu Ming's nose was twisted with anger, thinking that he is also a second-layer emperor senior, and he has never insulted him like this in person. There is a rage in his chest that is like a volcano containing magma, and it is about to erupt. Tan Junhao took a deep breath, waved his hand slightly, stopped Wu Ming's irritability, squinted at Yang Kai and said, "Young friend Yang is very resentful, it seems that he has some prejudice against this old man." Yang Kai said coldly, "What do you think?" Tan Junhao smiled slightly, nodded and said, "Your friend is angry, I understand, but this old man is forced to do it, I hope you will forgive me." "I'll forgive you when you die." Tan Junhao was stunned, and laughed loudly, "My friend, you are joking. This old man is the elder of the Star God Palace, who has been favored by the great emperor. Who in the world would dare to kill me? It turns out that this is what you rely on." Yang Kai nodded lightly, his eyes suddenly raised, and said in a stern voice, "This young master wants to try killing an elder of the great emperor sect, what will be the consequences?" The corner of Tan Junhao's eyes twitched. He realized that Yang Kai was not joking, but really had murderous intentions, but he didn't take it too seriously. It's normal to have murderous intentions, the key is to have skills. He smiled and said, "The old man will wait and see, but before that, should Yang Xiaoyu return something to its original owner? That thing belonged to the old man, but was obtained by the little friend unintentionally, and it has been some years." "You said this." Yang Kai grabbed it in the void, and a token immediately appeared on the palm of his hand. A lifelike dragon statue was engraved on the token, and there was a big dragon character on the front. The token is simple and simple. I don't know what material it is made of, but it seems to be quite old. Exactly. Tan Junhao nodded slightly when he saw the token. This Dragon Island token is an extremely precious treasure. Although it cannot be used for refining weapons or alchemy, it is the only certificate for ordinary people to enter Dragon Island. With this Dragon Island token, you can go to Dragon Island, to mention a request that Long Island can meet. Tan Junhao is already at the 3rd level of Emperor Senior Realm, and further up is the realm of the Great Emperor. He will not be able to pry into the way of the Great Emperor in his life, but maybe there is something on the magical Dragon Island let him break through the shackles. This Dragon Island token is a great opportunity for him. Not to mention anything else, just asking the Dragon Clan to bestow a few drops of real dragon blood would definitely be fine. So he has been tracking down the whereabouts of Long Daoling all these years. At this moment, seeing that the Dragon Island token is indeed in Yang Kai's hands, he is naturally happy in his heart, but he is also an old monster who has lived for an unknown number of years. On the contrary, when Wu Ming saw Long Daoling, he couldn't help but feel happy. He is a 2nd-level emperor, and with his aptitude and hard work, he would have to wait until the year of the monkey to advance to the 3rd level. If he can get the order of Dragon Island, he might be able to make a breakthrough right away if he goes to Dragon Island. But this token belonged to Tan Junhao. Even if he wanted to, he didn't dare to pay any attention to it. Yang Kai tossed the Dragon Island order a few times, pondered for a moment and said, "I have what you want, and you have someone I want, how about this, let's make a deal." Tan Junhao smiled slightly, and said, "The transaction is based on the equality of both parties." In this situation, Xiaoyu Yang thinks he is qualified to make a transaction with the old man. Yang Kai's face was slightly grave. "It's meaningless for you to talk like this, is it possible that you still want this Dragon Island token for nothing?" Tan Junhao laughed and said, "That's not true, but please return the Long Dao token first, little friend, and let's discuss the rest slowly." Yang Kai Dao. Let people go first, the Dragon Island token belongs to you, this bullshit token is useless if you don't want it at all. Give Long Dao order first. Tan Junhao was unmoved, with a faint smile on his face, as if he was determined to accept Yang Kai. Let people go first. Yang Kai grinned. Unable to agree on a few words, Tan Junhao stopped talking, just turned his head to look at Wu Ming and said, Disciple, let Yang Xiaoyu see our bargaining chip, lest he think we are not sincere. Wu Ming grinned ferociously, and said, yes. Turning his head, he looked at Yang Kai and said, Little beast, I heard that this witch is your mother-in-law. The corners of Yang Kai's eyes twitched, thinking to Sister Hua, why did you say everything? It seems that the matter of owning the mysterious boundary orb and the Tree of Eternity must have been revealed. But she can't blame her for this matter. In the face of absolute strength, Watching Si couldn't resist at all. She didn't even remember what she said to Tan Junhao at that time. That is definitely an extremely insidious secret technique, which can force Watching Si to reveal the secret in her heart. If you dare to hurt her hair, you will die, Yang Kai said in a deep voice. Wu Ming chuckled, and said, Don't worry, this beauty, how can I be willing to hurt her? I like her very much. If Master didn't stop me, I would have taken her as my concubine already. Kai Yu is also a rare beauty, with a coquettish charm, although not as charming as Shan Qingluo, but more mature. If it weren't for this, Luo Jin, the lord of Crane City that day, would not have fallen in love with her at first sight and forced her into marriage. While Wu Ming was speaking, he stretched out his hand and gently brushed across Kai Yu's face. Kai Yu's tender body trembled violently, her eyes were full of disgust, but her cultivation base was sealed, her figure was restrained, she couldn't resist at all, she could only grit her teeth and close her eyes. How dare you? Yang Kai was furious, in front of his own face, this bastard actually teased his mother-in-law, how could this be tolerated? He stepped on his feet, and rushed towards Wu Ming. Seeing this, Wu Ming's face also changed drastically, he had suffered from Yang Kai's loss, and knew that this kid was not easy to mess with, so he hurriedly took Kai Yu back. Tan Junhao swung his body to block, flicking his sleeves, a series of 5-color light blades suddenly formed, and slashed towards Yang Kai. Boom boom boom. A series of loud bangs and violent spiritual energy forced Yang Kai to retreat steadily, and the 5-color light blades all collapsed. Tan Junhao narrowed his eyes, and couldn't help but praise, Little friend Yang is really amazing, the old man underestimated you. He thought that a mere first-level Emperor Senior and a 5-element formation with a large square circle would be enough to subdue him, but he didn't expect to be able to match the power of the formation. On-layer environment. If he is allowed to grow to the 3rd level, who else in the world can be his opponent except the Great Emperor? To be continued. Chapter 2694 I don't understand what you said. If you know that this is too small, let them go quickly, otherwise your head will be twisted off and used as a urinal. Yang Kai suppressed the tumbling blood in his heart, gritted his teeth and shouted. Tan Junhao shook his head slightly. Seeing the protection of his master, Wu Ming felt less timid, and said coldly, Little bastard, aren't you crazy? Show me another crazy one. While speaking, she stretched out her hand to grab Kai Yu's long hair, and pulled her back. Kai Yu suddenly exclaimed, her figure rose slightly, her breasts towering high. Wu Ming grinned grinningly, Emperor Yuan was running, his fingers glowed, he slowly pointed towards Kai Yu's chest, stared at Yang Kai and said, This is your mother-in-law, let's appreciate your mother-in-law's figure together. When the words fell, the finger suddenly swiped down. With a stabbing sound, a gap appeared in Kai Yu's clothes, and the clothes collapsed, revealing a strip of snow-white skin that was more than 3 fingers wide. That's all for Wu Ming. The key point is that Yang Kai is Shan Qingluo's man, she is Shan Qingluo's adoptive mother, she was so insulted in front of Yang Kai, and even exposed part of her body to Yang Kai's vision, even if Kai Yu is a monster, she can't stand it. Yang Kai's eyes shrank suddenly. Wu Ming admired it unscrupulously, but unfortunately although his clothes were torn, they still blocked the key parts, making him unable to see clearly. He stretched out his hand excitedly, as if he wanted to open the clothes and appreciate the most delicate parts carefully. You are enough, Yang Kai shouted. Wu Ming was unmoved. Yang Kai said angrily, if you dare to move your hands again, you will never get anything you want today. Tan Junhao, who had been watching coldly, frowned and raised his hand. Wu Ming's movements stopped immediately, with a regretful expression on his face. Kai Yu couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, If she really asked Wu Ming to pick up her torn clothes, then she might not have the face to see Yang Kai and Shan Qingluo in the future, although the current situation is also embarrassing, but at least it's just showing some skin. For a monster clan, this is actually not a big deal. Little friend Yang should know the sincerity of this old man, right? Tan Junhao looked at Yang Kai leisurely. Yang Kai sneered and said, "The elders of the dignified Star God Palace acted so despicably, it is really eye-opening." Tan Junhao said, "You don't need to be sarcastic, you don't care about small things when doing big things, you should understand this truth. I just saw two despicable people bullying a woman who has no strength to fight back, and they dared to speak so freely and carelessly. It's really ridiculous." Tan Junhao lightly smiled and said, "It's okay, as long as you can give the Dragon Island order to the old man, everything can be discussed." As he spoke, he stretched out a hand towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai gritted his teeth and snorted, pouring Emperor Yuan into the Longdao token, and threw it at Tan Junhao. So far, he has nothing to do. If you don't compromise, I'm afraid that Kai Yu will be stripped naked by Wu Ming and exposed in front of her eyes. How should she explain when she meets Shan Qingluo in the future? He really didn't pay much attention to the mere Dragon Island token. If watching C hadn't reminded him before, he would have almost forgotten about it. The reason why he refused to return it was because he wanted to get Kai Yu back first. The Dragon Island order turned into a stream of light, mixed with Pei Ran Mo Yu's power, but Tan Junhao caught it as soon as he stretched out his hand, stroked it carefully a few times, nodded and said, "That's right, it's exactly this order." Yang Kai shouted, "The Dragon Island token has been returned to you, should people be released?" Tan Junhao smiled and said, "No rush." Yang Kai immediately widened his eyes and said, "Old dog, you actually turned your back on what you said." Wu Ming laughed loudly and said, "Master never said that you will release people after you return the Dragon Island token. What Master said before is that you return the token, everything is easy to discuss, and if you don't discuss it, why go back and forth?" Seeing Yang Kai's deflated look, Wu Ming was in a great mood, as if he had taken revenge. Yang Kai heard the words, his face became extremely ugly, and he was slapping his thigh in frustration for a while, looking like he was fooled. Ha 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 ha, Wu Ming finally couldn't help laughing. "What do you want, old dog? The Dragon Island token has already been returned to you, don't force me anymore, or I will fight you to the death." Yang Kai gritted his teeth. Tan Junhao said, "I want to ask my little friend for something. Don't worry, as long as my little friend fulfills my wish, this old lady will return it to you immediately." "What? Let's hear it." Yang Kai looked uneasy, and seemed a little flustered. Tan Junhao smiled slightly, moved his lips, and said via voice transmission, a bead that is said to claim to be a small world." Sister Hua really exposed the existence of the Xuanjiaju, but seeing Tan Junhao's mysterious appearance, it seems that she doesn't want Wu Ming to know. Think about it, Xuanjiaju itself is an extremely precious secret treasure, not to mention that there is such a treasure as the Tree of Immortality in it. Even if he is a master and apprentice, Tan Junhao does not intend to let Wu Ming know the information about the Tree of Immortality, lest make him covetous. "I don't understand what you are talking about," Yang Kai said with a serious face. Tan Junhao continued to transmit voice transmission. "My traitor has already told all your secrets to the old man, you don't need to hide anything, the old man's layout is aimed at you this time, the Dragon Island order is only second, what the old man really wants is actually it is that bead, as long as the little friend can satisfy the old man will be grateful. In the future, if the little friend asks for something, the old man will definitely be satisfied. The old man is also the elder of the Star God Palace, eh?" Yang Kai shook his head like a rattle and said, "I don't have that kind of thing." Tan Junhao's face darkened, and he said, "It seems that my little friend is toasting and not eating fine wine." He has always been polite, but after Yang Kai repeatedly refused to hand over the mysterious boundary orb, he suddenly showed signs of turning his face, which shows how attractive the mysterious boundary orb is to him. Wu Ming saw that Tan Junhao and Yang Kai were constantly communicating with each other via voice transmission. He couldn't help being suspicious and puzzled, he didn't know what his master couldn't let him know, he felt a little dissatisfied. But he didn't dare to show it, he could only keep all this in his heart, and secretly planned to find a chance to ask after Yang Kai was dealt with. Yang Kai said helplessly, "What I don't have, you ask me for it, how can I give it to you?" Tan Junhao snorted coldly, winked at Wu Ming, and said, "Little friend Yang doesn't want to fulfill the old man's wish, you can deal with this witch as you like." Wu Ming's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and he said happily, "Thank you, master." As he spoke, he grabbed Kai Yu's chest. "Wait, wait," Yang Kai hurriedly called out. Tan Junhao raised his hand and shook Wu Ming's big hand away. Wu Ming looked annoyed, but he didn't dare to resist. "Little friend, have you changed your mind?" Tan Junhao looked at Yang Kai with a burning gaze. Yang Kai scratched his cheeks, sniffed and said, "I seem to remember, there is such a thing." Tan Junhao's eyes flashed brightly, and he said eagerly, "Since I remembered it, I will leave it to the old man. If you can get the mysterious boundary orb and the tree of immortality inside, it doesn't matter what Dragon Island token is. It is rumored that after refining the tree of immortality, one can achieve immortality and be promoted to emperor at that time." Yang Kai hummed, "But your reputation, I can't believe it." Tan Junhao replied immediately, "Don't worry, as long as you can give that thing to the old man, you will take this witch away immediately." "Is this true?" Yang Kai asked with a frown. Tan Junhao raised his hand and said, "If there is any disobedience, there will be a thunderbolt." Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "If the oath is useful, what is the cultivation for? But, you are also an elder of the Star God Palace, so I will trust you again." Tan Junhao said with a smile, "Yang is a straightforward person, the old man will not let you down." Yang Kai sighed, turned his palm over, and immediately there was a bead the size of a longan on his palm. At first glance, the bead looked ordinary, but it was a strange fluctuation of the power of space. Tan Junhao's eyes widened immediately, staring at the mysterious boundary bead without moving for a moment, and his divine sense swept over to investigate carefully. With his cultivation and knowledge, he could see the extraordinariness of this bead at a glance, and immediately understood that it must be the so-called mysterious boundary bead, and it was nothing more than such a space secret treasure. The key was what was inside. Not everyone can refine the secret treasure of space, but Tan Junhao used his own strength to open it a little, and it shouldn't be a problem to take out the tree of immortality inside. Wu Ming was also looking at it, but his brows were furrowed. He didn't know why such a bead could make Master pay so much attention, even several times more than the Dragon Island order. He faintly felt that the real purpose of his master this time was not the Dragon Island token, but this weird bead. "I got this thing from a very early age, and it was also a gift from a friend. Now I hand it over to Elder Tan, and I hope that Elder Tan can treat it with caution." Yang Kai seemed to accept his fate, and looked at the thing in his hand reluctantly. Mysterious boundary bead. Even the title of Tan Junhao has changed. Tan Junhao said, "Don't worry, the old man will naturally hide such treasures carefully. From now on, the little friend will be the old man's friend." Yang Kai shook his hand and said, "Before that, I have a merciless request." Tan Junhao frowned and said, "What?" Yang Kai Dao, "I hope Watching Si can break away from Elder Tan's sect and become a free person." Wu Ming snorted and said, "Wishful thinking, that bitch has done something wrong to Master, it's a gift not to kill her, but she still wants to be free." Yang Kai looked at him coldly and said, "Can you be the master of Elder Tan?" Wu Ming's face changed, and he clasped his fists at Tan Junhao quickly and said, "Master, this disciple didn't mean that." Tan Junhao waved his hand and said, "The old man knows. He is also determined in his heart, he is not afraid of Yang Kai's request, and he can see that Yang Kai is a person who values love and righteousness after repeated contact. If not for this, he would not be able to let Yang Kai be arrested with just a chiyu, obediently hand over the Dragon Island token and the mysterious boundary bead." In Tan Junhao's view, this request was reasonable, and with Yang Kai's performance and character, he would indeed make such a request. Nodded and said, "I'm sure about this matter. From now on, Watching Si is no longer a disciple of this old man, and has nothing to do with this old man." To be continued.